Chapter 938. Brothers who have tickets, please help me buy some tickets. These elders had different characteristics. Some emitted billowing demonic aura, giving off overbearing and cold aura. Some had sharp auras like unsheathed swords. Some were modest and ethereal. Some were old women giving off mysterious auras. These were all ancient giants that were extremely rare to see in the pig-sky myriad world. They seemed to have condensed their own wills in their bodies. However, these elders and old women stood silently behind Tai Xian, Meng Yao, and the others, deliberately keeping a distance of half a step. It was as if they were showing respect to Tai Xian and the others. Tai Xian and the others were the true direct disciples of the sect. Ancient giants were definitely not the end of their cultivation, but they had the potential to become unparalleled experts. Once he broke through to become a peerless expert, he would be like a carp leaping through the dragon gate, truly becoming the most respected existence in the world. They were the real precious wealth of the sect. Whenever there were good resources, they would be provided with unlimited resources for cultivation. They would even spend a lot of wealth to send them into the supreme artifact to reverse time for cultivation. They were extremely valued. As for these old men, although they were all ancient giants, compared to the direct disciples, their status in the sect was actually lower by a level. Because their potential had basically been exhausted. They might not have the chance to become unparalleled experts in this lifetime. They could only be trapped in this realm forever. Aptitude and potential had determined their future status. Behind those old men was an army that emitted an intimidating aura. It was an army that was in strict formation. Every warrior in this army was wearing a purple immortal robe. The robe gave off a noble aura, covering the whole body without any burdensome parts. On their backs there was a purple battle sword, a purple scabbard, and a purple hilt. There were mysterious purple sword runes on them. Faintly, there were traces of purple lightning flashing on the battle swords. Every sword guard stood quietly in their original positions, but they naturally exuded an extremely terrifying pressure. It was as if the area around them was covered by their own sword domain. What flowed in his meridians was pure sword energy that was like a surging river. Their bodies naturally gave off a sharp aura. There were nearly 50,000 people in this army. The discipline was extremely strict. Surprisingly, it was a Tao soldier nurtured by a sect of the human race. Several old men walked towards the battlefield. He carefully examined the traces left on the battlefield. There are traces of a large number of savage beasts on the battlefield. It would appear that a large number of savage beasts had appeared here before. Furthermore, a frightening battle had taken place here. There are traces of savage beasts fleeing in all directions. The conclusion of the battle should have been the savage beasts fleeing in disorder, said the old man with a red lotus imprint on his forehead standing behind Li Qinglian. It is said that the Wanshou imperial dynasty has a unique treasure that can control beasts. Once it is used, it can cause a beast tide. I think that after Crown Prince Qing Shou of the Wanshou imperial dynasty received the news, he incited the beast tide and engaged in an intense battle with the demonic emperors. The turbid eyes of an old woman behind the 4 stars celestial maiden shone brightly, as if she had seen through many problems at a glance. This battlefield is still filled with a strong smell of blood and killing intent. The fierce battle at that time must have been incomparably tragic. However, this battlefield seems to be a little too strange. A beautiful middle-aged woman behind Meng Yao slightly frowned. Between her eyebrows, there was a red birthmark of a hemorrhoid. She scanned the surroundings and said doubtfully, "The entire battlefield was indeed very strange. Clean. It was really too clean. There was not even a trace of blood on the ground, and not a single bone was left behind. If it were not for the smell of blood that still lingered in the air, perhaps no one would have guessed that an incomparably tragic battle had actually taken place on the plain before them just a while ago. Hee. I heard that the divination technique of the Heaven's Secrets sect is second to none. Sister Xuanji, you have inherited the sect's true teachings. I wonder if you can help us find out what happened here." At this moment, a crafty look flashed across the 100 transformation witch's eyes. She suddenly looked at the 4 stars celestial maiden and asked. Her words seemed to carry a probing intent. "Since Sister Ding-Dang has such a wish, how can I not allow it?" The 4 stars celestial maiden smiled faintly. Her slender fingers suddenly drew a circle in front of her. Immediately, an illusory mirror of light appeared in front of her. A series of ripples appeared in the mirror, and fragments of scenes appeared. A huge number of savage beasts gathered to form a terrifying beast tide, and countless savage birds covered the sky. The murderous aura intimidated the blood-killing guards in the void, and Di Shirtion faced the monstrous demonic flames of the beast tide head-on. A series of shocking scenes flashed through the mirror at a rapid speed. This was a remarkable ability of the Heaven's Secrets sect, Reversal of Heaven's Secrets. It could condense a Heaven's Secrets mirror and reconstruct what happened not long ago in the area. However, it was impossible to see the complete scene, and only fragments of it could be seen. Even so, it was still immeasurably marvelous. When deducing, it was enough to figure out the specific things that had happened before from some fragment. Gotcha! The image on the Heaven's Secrets mirror suddenly stopped at the scene of Di Shirtion being cut in half by a pair of golden dragon scissors. The double-headed golden dragon emperor of the 9 great savage beast emperors. What a domineering golden dragon scissors! Li Qinglian's gaze froze as she stared fixedly at the scene of the golden dragon scissors tearing through the heavens. She was secretly in awe. What kind of reaction would she have when she was restrained in such a situation? Would she be able to resist it? Di Shirtion. Demoness Ding-Dong's expression changed slightly as she looked at the figure cut in half by the golden dragon scissors. Finally, the Heaven's Secrets mirror showed the remnants of the blood-killing guards beginning to leave. A wise light flashed in the 4 stars celestial maiden's eyes as she smiled faintly. Everyone, from what we saw in the Heaven's Secrets mirror, although the demon emperor withstood the attack of the beast tide, he was injured by the golden dragon scissors and may be severely injured. The blood-killing guards have been reduced from 30,000 to 20,000. This time, their overall strength is bound to be greatly reduced. In my opinion, this is the best opportunity not to be missed. The demon emperor being severely injured was a great opportunity bestowed by the heavens to eliminate him. Everyone here was outstanding, so how could they not see this? Chase. Tai Xian looked at the void, his body faintly exuding a touch of anticipation. Seeing that Di Shirtion was able to not only preserve his life in front of the Golden Dragon Emperor, whose battle strength was almost comparable to that of a peerless expert, but also defeated him, his competitive spirit was completely aroused. Haha, this time, I went to the sect to personally report to the elders and dispatched the Purple Cloud Swordsman, one of the 3 Dao soldiers of my Sky Sword Valley, to compete with the blood-killing guards in the Demon Emperor's hands. How could I give up halfway? Li Qinglian said with a carefree smile as she swept a glance at the Dao soldier following behind her from the corner of her eye. The Purple Cloud Swordsman. Behind her was one of the 3 Dao soldiers secretly nurtured by the Sky Sword Valley, hidden and never shown in front of the major cultivators, the Purple Cloud Swordsman. It was said that the Sky Sword Valley had 3 Dao soldiers, namely the Purple Cloud Swordsman, the Iron Blood Swordsman, and the Green Lotus Swordsman. Each of them had unparalleled battle strength. It was just that they had never been known to outsiders. Who would have thought that today, a Purple Cloud Swordsman would be sent out? It could be seen that the importance of Di Shirtion to the 10 great immortal sects had once again risen to another level. Hee, I just wanted to see my dream lover and see if he still has the same character as before. The demoness Ding-Dang smiled and blinked her eyes. Her snow-white arms gently shook a few times, letting out a crisp bell sound. Let's go! As soon as he finished speaking, immediately the group returned to the huge white auspicious cloud. That auspicious cloud was refined using an unknown method. Under the 10,000 times gravity of the fourth floor of Tong Tian Tower, it actually flew into the air at an extremely fast speed. It was unknown what method they used, but they quickly followed the direction of Di Shirtian and the others to Death Valley. Along the way, they did not make a single mistake. In terms of tracking, they had an extremely terrifying ability, following the path that Di Shirtian had taken. In addition to the speed of the white auspicious cloud, the group only used 2 hours to appear in front of Death Valley. Here. Sakra, who was hiding in the heavenly pig reincarnation bell, instantly sensed the change outside. He fiercely looked outside through the ancient bell and clearly saw the scene outside. Sky Sword Valley's Li Qinglian, Fate King Tai Xian, Heaven's Secrets Sex Goddess Xuanji, Myriad Demons Palaces Ding Dang, Benevolent Boathouses Mengyao, and a monk. That army, could it be the legendary Dao soldiers? With just a glance, Sakra took everything into his eyes and imprinted it in his heart. When he completely confirmed the guess in his heart, he also couldn't help but pay attention to the sword guard who was emitting a sharp sword aura that followed them. Information about the Dao soldiers of the human race immediately appeared in his mind. TSK, what a Dao soldier! Dark clicked his tongue, but there was still a solemn look in his eyes. Madman D, you have to be careful. I found out from the prisoners that were taken into the infernal prison that there are 3 Dao soldiers in the Heavenly Sword Valley. One of them is called Swordsman Zishao. Judging from the clothes of this Dao soldier and the sword qi that it emits, it should be the legendary swordsman Zishao. The Dao soldiers raised by the human race are extremely unique. Legend has it that each Dao soldier has an extremely unique battle formation diagram. They can unleash terrifying attack power. A human Dao soldier? I can take this opportunity to test the combat strength of the Dao soldiers. Di Shirtian's eyes gradually deepened. The human race had been the main characters of the world for countless years. Whether it was cultivation techniques or other aspects, they had almost reached a peak stage. With the human race's creativity and reproductive ability, coupled with their natural Dao bodies, their cultivation was often extremely fast. He had a deep understanding of the human race. He knew that the human race was best at hiding their strength. What was displayed on the surface was often the most superficial. Until the end, no one would know what kind of trump cards they were hiding. Dao soldiers. This was a very familiar term in the world. Everyone in the universe knew what a Dao soldier meant, but those who had actually seen one with their own eyes could be counted on one's fingers. They had always been very mysterious. Now was the best time to see the power of a Dao soldier. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 939. Throw in some votes if you have. Brothers, give it your all. Towering ancient trees, chirping birds, fragrant flowers, green grass, exotic fragrances, and a small spring. What a fairyland! Meng Yao's eyes lit up when she stopped before the gorge and looked at the fairyland before her. She took a deep breath and smelled the strange fragrance in the air. She couldn't help but reveal a carefree and happy expression. She didn't know what to say. Instead, she took a deep breath and smelled the fragrance in the air. The scenery in front of her was too dreamy. It was like a fairyland in a dream. The aura of the Goblin Emperor's group disappeared after they arrived here. My aura examination technique can no longer detect the aura they are emitting. Li Qinglian frowned slightly and looked around. In her eyes there was a faint trace of a different color that flickered, as if she could see things that ordinary people could not see. Aura examination technique. Every person, every life form, and even the experts themselves, exuded a different chi. It was unique to them, just like how palm prints were unique to one's own body. However, these auras were invisible and intangible. Ordinary people couldn't see them at all. They could only feel them invisibly. This was a kind of aura. The aura was so strong that even ordinary people could feel it. The aura examination technique was a unique secret technique that could see this invisible aura. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate. De Chertion and his group had instinctively gone through a fierce battle. When they gathered together, they naturally emitted a unique murderous aura. It was because of the aura examination technique that he could follow the murderous aura in the air that he was able to follow them all the way here. He didn't expect that after chasing them all the way here, he would find that the original murderous aura had mysteriously disappeared. It disappeared without a trace. In my opinion, the Goblin Emperor's group is obviously heading in this direction. They have been going straight all the way without any changes. Obviously, if nothing goes wrong, they must be going through the canyon. The environment here is peaceful. Perhaps the aura they are emitting has cleansed and covered up the murderous aura on their bodies. Ding Dang blinked and looked around as he said with a smile. However, there was no sign that they were going to walk into the canyon. I don't know why, but I feel an indescribable sense of danger in this canyon. The 4 stars celestial maiden frowned slightly as she looked at the canyon in front of her. For some reason, the dreamlike fairyland scenery in front of her seemed like an illusion to her. He reached out and pulled out a stalk of grass from the ground. He could clearly feel the fresh air and vitality emitted from the grass. This was real. Tai Xian listened to what the others were saying. With a flash of light in his hand, the Cosmos treasure mirror appeared in his left hand. Then, with a flash of light in his right hand, an iron brush appeared in his hand. He flipped open the treasure mirror, and the iron brush was like a knife as it quickly wrote on the treasure mirror. Under the guidance of fate, all illusions will turn into nothingness, and all reality will appear before me. When these words appeared on the Taishu treasure mirror, an invisible force seemed to descend from the heavens and earth, about to envelop the entire canyon. However, in an instant, a gentle breeze blew past, seemingly dispersing some of the fog. On the other side of the canyon, a group of figures suddenly appeared. A group of neatly arranged blood-killing guards, whose bodies were covered with wounds of various sizes, were escorting a noble throne as they quickly fled forward. It's the Demon Emperor. They really did pass through here. Li Qinglian's eyes flashed with a bright light. It seems that they suffered a lot of damage in the beast tide. Quickly chase after them. The old woman standing behind the 4 stars celestial maiden immediately shouted. The scene that appeared at the end of the canyon immediately stirred their hearts. Moreover, although the figure disappeared in a flash, it could be seen that although the Demon Emperor and his party had escaped from the beast tide, they were still in an extremely sorry state and seemed to have suffered a lot of damage. This was a rare opportunity. They immediately became restless. The white auspicious cloud under their feet immediately moved toward the canyon. Not good. There's danger. Tai Xian's expression suddenly changed, and he exclaimed softly, his eyelids twitching violently. A strong aura of danger flashed wildly in his heart. Retreat quickly, it's a trap? The 4 stars celestial maiden's face turned pale. She also smelled the terrible danger emanating from the unseen world. She only felt that the hair all over her body was about to stand on end. It was so exciting that her scalp was about to go numb. The moment the auspicious cloud entered the canyon, the others also sensed the unusual death aura that pervaded the surroundings. Their expressions changed drastically, and their hearts beat wildly. Without thinking, they turned the auspicious cloud around and went back along the route they came from. Clang! At this moment, outside the canyon, an ancient bell suddenly appeared in the air. Mysterious scrolls appeared on the surface of this ancient bell, intertwining with each other, causing the ancient bell to exude an ancient aura. It was as though everything was being reincarnated within the bell. After the ancient bell appeared, it glowed with a bright crystal light, and in the blink of an eye, it grew to a size of thousands of feet. The ancient bell shook violently, and immediately the bell hammer struck the bell body, causing a loud bell chime to erupt. rings of seemingly solid sound waves crazily spread in all directions like a tide. The space was unable to withstand the sound wave. It crumbled inch by inch, forming tiny reincarnation plates. Countless strange ancient demonic sounds, murderous sounds, praying sounds and blessings could be heard from them. Upon hearing these sounds, the scene of reincarnation naturally appeared in one's mind. They were about to be completely immersed in the sound of reincarnation. Rumble! Not only did the huge white auspicious cloud not retreat under the tsunami-like sound waves, it was pushed a large distance further into the canyon by a huge wave of air. The bell of heaven's reincarnation, it's the demon emperor's bell of heaven's reincarnation. Mengyao's expression suddenly changed. Under the sound of the ancient bell, even with her temperament, she still fell into a trance for a moment. When she came back to her senses, she could not help but exclaim, "Trap, this is a trap. The scene that I just saw was all fake." Li Qinglian's heart raced. She saw that the surrounding canyon, which was originally like a fairyland, suddenly rippled under the power of destiny and mysteriously dissipated. The exotic flowers, strange grass, and towering ancient trees instantly collapsed. What awaited them was a barren scene. The canyon was filled with a deathly stillness, and both sides of the canyon were shrouded in layers of gray fog. The air was filled with the aura of death. Countless caves of various sizes appeared in front of them instantly. There was no longer any dreamlike scene. Swoosh! The heaven's reincarnation bell shook slightly, and instantly, Di Shirtian and the rest appeared in front of the canyon. 20,000 blood strike guards blocked the exit of the canyon, and pairs of blood-red eyes stared coldly at Tai Xian and the rest in the canyon. Traces of blood-red murderous aura permeated from all around them. "Demon King, it's you!" Tai Xian's eyes immediately fell on Di Shirtian. A strong fighting spirit exuded from his body. "Di Shirtian!" A surprised expression appeared on Meng Yao's face. "You actually set up a trap here, and you actually knew that we were chasing you." Li Qinglian's gaze was deep. She took a deep breath and quickly scanned the surroundings. When she saw the caves on the cliff, she instinctively smelled a strong sense of danger. Di Shirtian coldly scanned Tai Xian and the rest, who had already entered the canyon, and said indifferently, "It's impolite not to reciprocate. Since you can get Crown Prince Qing Shou to start the beast tide to scheme against I, then why can't I scheme against you once? You want to scheme against me time and time again. Today I will settle this with you here." 10 Great Celestial Sects? In the past, I didn't want to fight with you so early, so I tolerated you. You didn't know what was good for you and took my tolerance as weakness, so you kept on forcing me. I retreated a foot and you advanced 10 feet. If I still don't attack, you will really take advantage of me. So what if you are the direct disciples of the top 10 immortal sections? Today, I will let you know that if you annoy me, so what if I kill you? You schemed against me, but did you really think that I wouldn't set a trap? Enjoy the coming feast of death. Di Shirtian coldly spat out a few words. In his words there was a trace of cold, killing intent. "Not good, rush out." Li Qinglian's face became serious, and the green lotus mark between her eyebrows suddenly glowed with a strange green light. A 6th-grade green lotus flew out in an instant. The green lotus rotated, bursting out pure green lotus sword chi. It fiercely protected her body under the green lotus. Woo woo woo! At the same time, the originally calm canyon seemed to sense the appearance of life. Immediately, in the countless caves on the cliff, there was a strange whistling sound. This sound, with a strong penetrating power, quickly penetrated the minds of everyone in the canyon. In that sound there was an aura of death. Gusts of strange gray wind spurted out of the caves. They gathered together and rushed toward Tai Xian and the rest like a tide. The snow-white, auspicious clouds were instantly blown away by the strange wind. Many of the purple cloud swordsmen were not paying attention and were blown by the strange wind. Immediately, their bodies shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, their flesh and blood were completely blown away. The vitality in their bodies was disappearing at an alarming speed. In the blink of an eye, the swordsmen who were still alive were blown into powder. Their entire bodies were turned into powder. The aura of death pervaded the entire canyon. Oh no, this wind is strange. It can devour vitality. Each of the purple cloud swordsmen is an immortal emperor expert, but they were turned into powder in an instant. Under the protection of fate, the power of heaven and earth has turned into a barrier to ward off all external evils. Tai Xian quickly wrote an edict on the Taishu treasure mirror. Immediately, in the surrounding void, an invisible force fiercely stirred up heaven and earth. In a split second, a seemingly solid barrier appeared around them, protecting everyone under the barrier. Inside this barrier, it was like being in an independent world. I am the son of fate, the king of fate. The omnipresent power of fate in heaven and earth listens to my command. Under the power of fate, all evils of heaven and earth will vanish into nothingness. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 940. Under destiny was destiny. Strands of destiny intertwined and converged into a continuous long river of destiny. The power of destiny had all kinds of mysterious and mighty powers that were above the heavens. It could also command heaven and earth. As soon as Tai Xian's voice fell, the invisible power of destiny quickly swept toward the wind of death that was swirling in the canyon. In the power of destiny, there was a mysterious power that could soothe and calm everything. It was transmitted to the strange wind of death, as if it wanted to calm it down. Woo-woo! However, the wind of death was extremely strange. Although a portion of the strange wind was calmed and eliminated by the arrival of the fate power, an even more ferocious and overbearing strange wind immediately blew out from the cave. Wave after wave of attacks came whistling over and crashed into the barrier. Rumble! The barrier that was shining with divine brilliance immediately dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye after it came into contact with the strange wind, as if it was quickly disintegrating the defense of the barrier. This strange wind has the power of death and can blow away all the power of life. Its source is in the caves on both sides of the canyon. If the source is not destroyed, the strange wind will not be completely eliminated and will continue to sweep over. If we stay in the canyon for too long, we will be exhausted to death. Tai Xian saw that the power of destiny could not completely disintegrate the wind of death. Instead, the strange wind in the cave became more and more violent. He immediately understood that the canyon in front of him was probably a naturally formed danger zone. If they were trapped here, they would be in danger of dying. We must kill our way out. Li Qinglian, Meng Yao, and the others looked at each other and saw the same determination in each other's eyes. In this canyon, the deeper they went, the more violent and domineering the strange wind was. Once they were trapped, they might not even be able to find a way out. The only way now was to rush out from where they came in. However, the exit of the canyon was blocked by Di Shirtian. From Sakra's brief words, they were almost certain that this time, he had absolutely made up his mind to kill them. It was impossible to leave them with any chance of survival. Your Majesty! You are so cruel. Ding Dang looked at Di Shirtian with eyes full of resentment. That pitiful look was almost enough to touch the heart of any man in the world, making people feel pity. She gently lifted her left arm, which was as white as a snow lotus. On her wrist there was a small green bell. She shouted, "The strange winds in the valley will be blocked by this little sister for the time being. You guys find a way to open a way out." Ding ding dang dang. His arm began to sway in a strange rhythm. A series of clear and melodious chimes rang out, and invisible sound waves quickly spread out in all directions. Wherever the sound wave passed, The wind of death that was violently sweeping in from all directions seemed to be strangely bound by some kind of strange restriction, and it suddenly became still in the air, as if it was fixed. Wind calming bell. This was the wind calming bell that the ancient wind god had refined back then. It could calm all kinds of heavenly winds between heaven and earth. I didn't expect it to appear in the hands of this witch. Ming stared at the green bell before quickly sweeping his gaze over the other bells on Ding Dang's hands and feet. He narrowed his eyes and said, "This witch has obtained a treasure left behind by the ancient wind god. However, the wind of death in this Death Canyon is extremely tyrannical. With her strength, she will definitely not be able to stay still for long. Purple Firmament Swordsman, listen to my order. Set up the Purple Firmament Lightning Sword formation and break through the thorns. Kill!" Li Qinglian's eyes revealed a sharp sword intent as she issued an order to the Purple Firmament Swordsman behind her. Instantly, tens of thousands of Purple Firmament Swordsmen moved quickly and set up a sword formation in a strange pattern. There was a faint, mysterious connection between the Purple Firmament Swordsmen. They outlined the abstruse sword principles one after another. Chi. A purple sword light that connected the sky and the earth shot out from each of the purple sword guards, shooting straight into the clouds. The sword lights intertwined in the void according to a mysterious connection between them, forming mysterious sword scars in the void. These sword scars gathered together to form a purple sword formation diagram. This was a Purple Firmament sword formation diagram. Once it was formed, the entire formation diagram appeared in the air, as if it was real. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Purple Firmament Swordsman rose into the air and rushed into the formation diagram. In the blink of an eye, they merged into it and disappeared. At the same time, one could clearly see huge purple battle swords condensing out of thin air. On the battle swords there were countless mysterious purple sword runes. Purple lightning flashed crazily on the battle swords. Around the battle sword, the space was cut into a series of hideous and terrifying cracks. For a moment, the area around the formation diagram seemed to have become the domain of the sword. In the formation diagram, a terrifying sword essence was emitted. The space around the formation diagram faintly showed signs of collapsing. The pressure it emitted was almost comparable to that of a peerless expert. Once enveloped by the sword formation, even heaven and earth would be cut into countless pieces. Boom, boom, boom. After the formation map was completely condensed, it immediately swept towards the exit of the canyon. It wanted to completely cover Sakura Tian and the rest of the demon clan under the formation map and grind them into dust. Sword formation diagram? Di Shirtian's eyes narrowed. He felt the terrifying sword essence emitted from the sword formation diagram. He had no doubt that the Purple Firmament Swordsman who formed the sword formation diagram had the terrifying power to contend with a peerless expert. However, how could he back down now? He sneered inwardly. "Do you really think I'll be afraid of you after forming the sword formation diagram? Purple Firmament Swordsman? Try my Blood Killing Guards." Blood Killing Guards, Annihilation Divine Light. Boom, boom, boom. With this order, the remaining 20,000 Blood Killing Guards immediately took 3 ferocious steps forward under the lead of the 3 Blood Killing Generals. At the same time, a blood-red eye opened between the eyebrows of the Blood Killing Guard. That eye contained an ice-cold killing intent. It was full of a terrifying aura that could destroy everything. The moment the blood-red eye opened, streaks of blood-red divine light containing the power of annihilation shot out. It was like a heavenly killing sword that bombarded the Purple Firmament sword formation diagram. In the Purple Firmament sword formation diagram, countless huge Purple Firmament swords also burst out. They drew mysterious trajectories and slashed at the blood-red annihilation divine light. Boom, boom, boom. The sword formation diagram and the annihilation divine light violently collided. In the surroundings of the collision, the space was annihilated at a speed visible to the naked eye, collapsing into countless terrifying fragments. For a moment, at the exit of the canyon, countless purple and blood-red lights filled every inch of space. The entire void seemed to shake violently in this collision, and the ground was constantly rumbling. The entire sword formation diagram was in a stalemate for a moment, then suddenly rolled back. Humph! At the same time, the blood-killing guards took a step back in unison. They were actually on par with each other? Green lotus blooming. Li Qinglian saw that the purple firmament sword formation diagram was actually blocked by the blood-killing guard. It was unable to break through the passage at all. She raised her eyebrows, stretched out her hand, and pointed at the green lotus in front of her. With a sword technique, streaks of green lotus sword chi immediately burst out from the 6th grade green lotus, and in an instant, illusory green lotuses were condensed. They kept spinning and quickly swept out of the canyon. As the green lotuses spun, the lotuses withered and scattered in all directions. Everywhere they passed, the space was cut open. Each petal contained pure green lotus sword chi. It's not that easy to break out of the canyon. Gord Luzi's face was filled with a cold, iron-blooded, murderous aura. When he saw the overwhelming green lotuses rushing over, he immediately took a step forward without waiting for Di Shirtian to make a move. The blood gourd in his hand flew into the air, emitting a blood-red light. A thick blood-red light spurted out from the gourd. This blood-red light carried a terrifying murderous aura that almost tore the void apart. This murderous aura quickly condensed into blood-red weapons and battle flags. There were also countless iron-blooded battle souls. They pounced toward the green lotuses that filled the sky. Destiny is supreme and omnipresent. Under destiny, the 5 elements of heaven and earth will turn into a millstone that will crush my enemies. Between heaven and earth, the clear air will rise to the sky, and the turbid air will sink to the ground. The clear air of heaven and earth will become the stairway to heaven and help me escape this predicament. Tai Xian walked step by step in the air. The iron pen in his hand was like a knife as he quickly scribbled the mantra of destiny on the Taishu treasure mirror. As his voice fell, in the canyon, a cloud of snow-white clear air suddenly fell from the sky. This cloud of clear air condensed together and converged into a snow-white stairway to heaven. The entire stairway directly extended out of the canyon. In front of the stairway to heaven, the strange winds of death could not invade it. It was as if this was a path to heaven. At the same time, outside the canyon, the 5 colored rays converged. The power of the 5 elements of heaven and earth condensed into a ball in the air in an incredible way, forming a huge 5-colored millstone. In that millstone, the power of the 5 elements flowed as if the whole heaven and earth were connected together. The millstone rotated, and the space under the millstone collapsed into powder on the spot. With a loud bang, it came crashing down towards Sakra. Under the 5-element millstone, Sakra didn't have the slightest intention of moving. Looking at the millstone above his head, his body emitted a boundless might as he spat out a sentence: 5 elements of heaven and earth, heed my command, disperse! As his voice faded, an invisible will burst forth from his body. In an instant, it landed on the 5-element millstone. Immediately, the millstone, which was originally overbearingly crushing downwards, suddenly came to a halt. It trembled violently in the air, as if there were 2 forces continuously colliding with each other on the millstone. It caused the millstone to condense and disperse in an instant. It caused the surrounding space to be constantly distorted. Want to come out of the canyon? With me here today, no one can think of coming out. Above his head, the bell of heaven's reincarnation glowed brightly. One by one, the fire crows pulled out the blazing sun primordial fire and flew out continuously from the ancient bell. At the first moment, they gathered into the fire crow formation. It turned into a huge blazing sun. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 941. It's almost the end of the month. Those who have tickets, throw them. In the golden sun, one could clearly see that millions of fire crows had gathered into a huge three-legged golden crow that exuded the aura of an emperor. The sun was condensed from the golden feathers on its body. The golden crow raised its head proudly and let out a silent crow cry. It pounced toward the stairway. The domineering true sun fire almost instantly filled the surrounding air with an unimaginable blazing aura. The golden crow spread its wings, and the dark golden feathers were like battle swords shrouded in flames, launching the fiercest attack toward the stairway. Rumble! The stairway to heaven shook violently. Under the attack of the primordial fire of the sun, hideous cracks appeared on the stairway to heaven. Countless cracks appeared, and in an instant, they spread rapidly in all directions. The stairway to heaven that stretched out of the canyon collapsed inch by inch at a speed visible to the naked eye. Under fate, yin and yang alternate between heaven and earth, the cycle of the sun and the moon. The sun is so bright, but after the light it will be shrouded in darkness. The stairway collapsed, and it could no longer spread out of the canyon. Tai Xian, who was standing on the stairway, fell back into the canyon. However, he did not panic because of this. Instead, he said another sentence unhurriedly. His body was shrouded in a mysterious light. It was as if his every move and every word was connected to fate. Every single one of his words could condense into an unparalleled force that could shake the heavens and earth. It was many times more wonderful than silent meditation. As soon as he finished speaking, in the canyon, all the light seemed to have disappeared in an instant. A pitch-black curtain of night appeared strangely. The curtain of night was so deep that it seemed to be able to swallow all the light. It quickly spread out and covered a large area. Like a terrifying beast that could swallow heaven and earth, it shrouded toward the golden sun. Rumble! Immediately, a strange situation appeared in the sky above the canyon. Heaven and earth seemed to be divided into two halves. On one side was endless darkness, and on the other side was the blazing sun. This was the collision of darkness and light. At the intersection, the entire space was constantly twisting. For a moment, even the true sun fire could not burst out its domineering power. Fate? Tai Xian, you're just a child of destiny. Even if you really are connected to the sovereign of fate, you've dared to scheme against me time and time again. Do you really think that I wouldn't dare to touch you? Di Shutian sat on his throne. The throne soared into the air, and the will of the emperor filled his body. His eyes were filled with a majestic aura. Looking at Tai Xian, his expression was cold as he berated, "If you anger me, even if you have the ruler of fate's bloodline, you will still die. I still dare to kill and bury them. If you really think that my patience is limitless, then you're wrong. My patience is limited. You've already crossed the limits of my patience. Today, I shall tell you that playing with fire will result in self-immolation." Di Shutian coldly glanced at the outstanding human talents in the valley. He knew very well that if he didn't teach these people before him a deep and painful lesson, they would never know how to restrain themselves. Instead, he would take a mile when given an inch. Since he had set up a killing trap in the Death Canyon, he had no intention of letting these people walk out in one piece. Kill. He had to kill them until they were terrified. He had to kill them until they were terrified. At this moment, his killing intent was incomparably strong. Anyone who dares to scheme against I shall be killed. Every word and sentence of Sakra contained a supreme will of dominating the heaven and earth. Instantly, he sat upright on the throne like the one and only supreme emperor in the heaven and earth, commanding all living things in the heaven and earth and giving orders to the heaven and earth. There was a supreme majesty in his expression. The power of lightning in the world, obey I's order and transform into a spear of lightning that will judge all enemies. Kill the child of fate for me. Rumble! As soon as the words that contained the supreme will fell, the world immediately followed the words. Bolts of lightning of various sizes flashed out of the void. Each bolt of lightning contained an astonishing power and had a completely different aura. There was thunder, evil thunder, 5 elements divine thunder, purple heaven divine thunder, demon annihilating divine thunder, and so on. All kinds of lightning really did follow Shurtian's order and appeared one after another. Billions of bolts of lightning intertwined in a mysterious trajectory and merged perfectly, condensing into a 7-colored spear. On the spear, countless bolts of lightning flashed fiercely. Every bolt of lightning that burst out and landed in the surroundings made the surrounding space look as if it was cut by a sharp saber. Terrifying cracks were drawn. The spear shook and the surrounding lightning followed. The spear emitted a violent and terrifying power that could destroy everything. Crack! This spear was extremely huge, at least 1,000 feet long. There were clear, mysterious patterns on it. They outlined the Tao patterns of lightning in the world. The spear seemed to have a mind of its own as it aimed at Tai Xian. Without hesitation, the spear was aimed directly at his chest. It wanted to blast him into smithereens on the spot. Is it the golden mouth and jade words? Or is it the golden mouth edict? What kind of magical power did the demon emperor cultivate? Could it be that he has begun to merge thousands of magical powers into one? Gord Z's pupils unconsciously contracted a few times. Every time he saw the scene of Sakra commanding the heavens and earth with just a sentence, he always had a feeling of fear and trepidation in his heart. This wasn't a request to the heavens and earth, but a kind of naked command. This kind of command was extremely overbearing and almost didn't give the heavens and earth any power to refuse or influence. The meaning behind it was extremely terrifying. Commanding the world was something that even the most powerful experts could not do. Even Tai Xian had to write on the Taishu treasure mirror before he used the art of destiny. This was equivalent to submitting a request to the river of destiny. With his identity as the child of destiny, destiny would not reject his request. However, there seemed to be a difference between a request and an order. This made the calabash unable to figure out what kind of heaven-defying divine ability Sakra was using from the beginning to the end. Demon Emperor, I have wanted to fight with you since a long time ago. Today I can fulfill this wish of mine. Those who scheme will always be schemed against. I, Tai Xian, have no resentment towards you for falling into your trap. However, whether you can force me into the canyon today, you will have to defeat me first. Tai Xian naturally saw Shurtian's terrifying magical power. However, as the child of destiny, the pride and confidence in his heart did not allow him to retreat or fear. Instead, his heart was brimming with a desire to fight and even a desire to win that he had never had before. He did not believe that his art of destiny and Tao of destiny would lose to any magical power. Destiny is supreme. Under destiny, everything in the world will be punished. The 5 elements of the world, in the trajectory of destiny, will condense into the 5 elements millstone. The rotation of the 5 elements will obliterate the world. Tai Xian's face exuded an ethereal aura. Word by word, it was as if he was praying to destiny. Once again, he condensed the 5 elements of the world into a 5 colors millstone. In the millstone, the power of the 5 elements formed a 5 elements grand cycle with the principle of mutual promotion and restraint. The millstone that was condensed was 1,000 feet in size. There were also countless mysterious 5 elements Tao patterns on it. Rumble. The 5 elements promoted and restrained each other, giving birth to chaos. There was the side of life, and there was also the side of destruction. As soon as it was condensed, it immediately swept towards the Thunder Battle Spear with the power to destroy the world. The Thunder Battle Spear did not evade at all and blasted heavily in the middle of the millstone. It burst out with a strong destructive force, wanting to pierce through the millstone. Countless power of the 5 elements and the power of thunder and lightning crazily poured in all directions. All of a sudden, The surrounding void was constantly cracking. It showed a scene of destruction. The 5 elements in the 5 elements millstone reinforced each other and connected to form a grand cycle. It was almost incomparably stable. However, under the thunder battle spear, there were actually small cracks in the middle of the millstone. It seemed to be unable to withstand the domineering power contained in the battle spear and showed signs of collapsing. The thunder battle spear contained an extremely domineering willpower. Under the willpower, the battle spear was unusually stable and condensed. In the 5 elements millstone, there was obviously a unique willpower missing. Whether there was willpower or not, it was immediately obvious. However, Tai Xian was not surprised by this. His expression did not change. With a wave of his hand, a purple-gold scale suddenly appeared in his hand. This scale had a tray on each side. Beside it, there were chips that looked like gold coins hanging. At this moment, both sides of the scale were the same height. It was balanced and incomparably fair. The scale of destiny! Dark cried out in surprise, staring at the scale. On the scale, there was a hidden trajectory of destiny. This was a supreme treasure that the ruler of destiny had personally refined. It could directly communicate with the boundless destiny. Back then, Di Shirtian had seen it with his own eyes in the heaven-reaching tower. Its power was indeed extremely unique and mysterious. Whoosh! The destiny scale flew out of his hand and suddenly enlarged in front of him. The scale emitted a formless power of destiny, and wisps of purple-gold divine light flashed rapidly. Immediately, divine light gathered on the 2 trays on each side of the scale, condensing into 2 illusory figures. An image of the 5 elements millstone appeared on the left, and an image of the thunder battle spear appeared on the right. At this moment, the thunder battle spear on the tray was extremely domineering, emitting endless destructive power. On the 5 elements millstone, there were also traces of cracks, and the 5-colored divine light seemed a little dim. The scale tilted down to the right. Obviously, in the destiny scale, the thunder battle spear was more powerful than the 5 elements millstone, and its power was astonishing. Tai Xian carefully picked up a purple gold chip on the scale and softly said, 5 elements cycle, life and death. Immediately, the chip in his hand that originally did not have any words on it suddenly had the ancient seal, 5 elements cycle, life and death, appear out of thin air. The chip landed on the tray on the left. As soon as it landed, an invisible force instantly fell on the 5 elements millstone. It was as if the 5 elements' origin had been injected into the millstone. Immediately, the cracks that appeared on the scale quickly overlapped at a speed visible to the naked eye. The dim divine light instantly burned brightly. Once again, it was in a fierce stalemate with the thunder battle spear. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 942. It is said that Tai Xian has the bloodline of the ruler of fate. He obtained the fate inheritance and has the fate scale. He has the miraculous ability to change fate. In the scale, it could eliminate all unfavorable factors into nothingness and strengthen itself. Every chip is a chance to change fate. Every time he uses it, he has 9 chances. It is indeed incredible. Ding Dang had 3 green bells on his left hand. These were the 3 wind calming bells. On his right hand there were 3 purple gold bells. On his snow-white feet there were 3 black bells on his left foot and 3 crystal bells on his right foot. The wind calming bells in his hand had temporarily stopped the wind of death around him. His eyes were also focused on the battle in front of him. When he saw Tai Xian take out the fate scale, his pupils constricted. On the fate scale, there were a total of 9 chips. However, there were only 8 chips now. This meant that even if there was the fate scale, fate would never stay for anyone forever. There was also a limit to the blessing of fate. If one couldn't turn the situation around in 9 chances, then the blessing of fate would leave you. The monster emperor has actually condensed his own emperor will. He is still walking ahead of us. Meng Yao's eyes also constricted. She could clearly sense the supreme will emitted from Di Shirtian's body. They had only been nurtured by their sex and spent large amounts of resources to become ancient giants. They didn't expect that they were still one step away. The battle was constantly changing. After Tai Xian took out the scale of destiny, he only put one chip on it and immediately reversed the disadvantage of the 5-element millstone. With the thunder battle spear in a fierce stalemate, the surrounding void collapsed inch by inch, causing the surroundings to be in a scene of great destruction. However, he didn't panic at all. He reached out and picked up the second chip. Shackle will. As soon as he said that, a line of ancient characters appeared on the chip of fate. It was none other than Will Shackle, following which, he didn't hesitate to place the chip on the tray on the right. In an instant, Sakura, who was sitting on the numinous sky throne, could only feel that in the void, there was an invisible mysterious force that entered his body through his pores at a shocking speed. It appeared in the demon residence at the first instant and turned into crystal chains that appeared in front of the 11th grade Black Lotus out of thin air. The Emperor's will that was condensed on the Black Lotus was instantly bound and restrained. In an instant, he felt as if his will had suddenly disappeared. Despicable. He actually used the power of fate to shackle your will. Damn it. Is the fate scale that great? Too despicable. Take it away. Take the fate scale from his hand. Let him try. Let's see how arrogant he can be without the scale. Dark made threatening gestures. The fate scale was the ruler of fate, was. It was a top treasure. Although it wasn't an innate spiritual treasure, it was comparable to a top innate spiritual treasure. It was a top treasure. When Sakura saw that his own will was actually locked and bound by crystal iron chains, a violent rage inexplicably emerged in his heart. His eyebrows twitched and anger appeared on his face. He snorted and said, I, Di Shirtian, do not seek the heavens nor the earth. My cultivation base is accumulated bit by myself. I created my own technique and used my body to go through all kinds of trials and tribulations to condense the supreme will of the Emperor. My realm, my will. Who can shackle it? Who dares to shackle it? It's mine. No one can take it away. Break. In the demon manor, on top of the 11th grade Black Lotus, there was an emperor that looked exactly like Sakura. On his body, there was a chain that tightly bound him. The Emperor Will's eyes were closed. At this moment, the entire Emperor Will opened its eyes. The originally illusory Emperor Will naturally burst forth with a supreme belief that looked down on the heavens. The illusory figure became real in an instant. A domineering will that couldn't be disobeyed burst forth from its body. It turned into streaks of purple-gold light and rushed into the chains around it. Crack! In the instant that the illusion turned into reality, the burst of willpower seemed to increase by hundreds, or even thousands of times. It rushed into the iron chain, and the iron chain that was originally restraining his willpower simply snapped and shattered inch by inch. They shattered on the spot. The shackles were broken. However, after breaking the shackles, the body that had become real became illusory again. The Emperor Will hadn't reached the stage where it could become real. Poison! Di Shirtian's eyes shot out a threatening light. He spat out a word coldly. In the void, colorful poisonous gas drifted out. The air was filled with a refreshing fragrance. It was as if the most beautiful things in the world had gathered together to form a colorful battle spear. Without any sound, it heavily bombarded the 5 elements millstone that was blocking its way. Wind. Countless strange winds rolled over and condensed into a green storm battle spear. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Following that, another 5 dazzling battle spears were formed. Each spear contained a different peerless power. Together with the thunder battle spear in front, a total of 8 battle spears bombarded the 5 elements millstone at the same time. Almost in an instant, the 5 elements millstone was shattered into pieces. Fate is supreme. Everything in the world is as I wish. The power of space turns into a barrier. Time brings distance. The 4 seasons bring reincarnation. Heaven and earth decay, but fate is immortal. Seeing the terrifying attacks coming one after another, Tai Xian immediately bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. The iron pen in his hand absorbed the blood essence into the pen. The tip of the pen turned blood red, and he quickly scribbled on the great void treasure mirror with the blood essence. Suddenly, the mysterious fluctuations emitted from his body became stronger and stronger. In front of him, a silver-white space shield condensed out of thin air. In this shield, countless spaces were constantly disappearing. It was as if there were countless space faults inside. It contained an endless amount of chaotic spatial energy. There was also the power of time on it, so that anything that fell on it would become infinitely slow, and even move backward. Inside, there was the scene of the 4 seasons reincarnation, emitting the power of reincarnation. For a moment, the strongest barrier appeared in front of him. Rumble! The storm battle spears hit the shield. Immediately, the battle spears pierced into the shield, but they were swallowed by the countless space faults in the shield. It was as if they broke through countless faults in an instant, but there were more faults in front of them. The power of reincarnation and the power of time were constantly eroding the power contained in the battle spears. Rumble! This shield was extremely tough. When the 8 battle spears hit it at the same time, the shield trembled violently, but it did not break. It just caused the surrounding space to shake violently. Humph! Destiny's scale, such a treasure, leave it to me. Di Shirtian focused his gaze and looked at the destiny scale in front of Tai Xian. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed the destiny scale in front of him in a mysterious trajectory. Extreme Emperor Creation Palm, stealing the sky and changing the sun. Tai Xian's expression changed. He saw the destiny scale in front of him suddenly turn into a piece of rotten wood. At this moment, his state of mind completely changed. Even his pupils contracted violently. The destiny scale was the most important treasure he had, and it was related to the true meaning of destiny. It allowed him to directly feel the magic of destiny. Taking away the destiny scale was undoubtedly taking away his lifeblood. At this moment, he was no longer as indifferent as before. Without thinking, he waved his hand in the void. Destiny was like a knife, and destiny was like a net. 7 forms of destiny, heaven's wide net. Destiny was everywhere, and destiny existed everywhere. Under the cover of destiny, heaven's net was wide, and nothing could escape. As long as it was under the cover of destiny, nothing could escape. A huge black hand made a grabbing motion in the void. This grabbing motion contained traces of fate. Ripples appeared in the void, and the destiny scale, which had disappeared, reappeared. It looked like it was going to escape to Di Shirtian's location. However, it was caught out. Emperor! Rumble! However, Sakra didn't have the slightest trace of regret. Instead, he calmly spoke again. As the sound of his voice faded, numerous emperors, sovereigns and kings appeared in the air. Each of them had a different aura, but each of them gave off a tyrannical aura that could suppress the entire space. These emperors gathered together and formed a huge purple-gold battle spear. This was an emperor battle spear. On the battle spear, one could see countless figures of emperors. Every emperor was the strongest in the world. They were unparalleled and domineering. The battle spear formed by countless emperors was the most domineering battle spear in the world. In the surrounding space, just the pressure alone was enough to distort and collapse the space around them. Bang! The Emperor battle spear crashed onto the shield. Immediately, the praises of countless emperors sounded from the battle spear. The domineering power of the emperors couldn't tolerate any disobedience. The will contained within was extremely compatible, and the most terrifying power burst out. The power of space, time, and reincarnation were all crushed by the battle spear. While Tai Xian was focused on the destiny scale, the spear pierced through the void. The spear broke through the barrier and instantly appeared in front of Tai Xian at an astonishing speed. It struck Tai Xian's chest like lightning. Puff! The battle spear pierced through Tai Xian's chest and came out from his back. The power contained in the battle spear immediately sent him flying backward. Extreme Imperial Creation Palm, stealing the sky and sun. Taking advantage of the situation, Di Shirtian grabbed forward again. Immediately, a stone appeared in the original position of the destiny scale. The destiny scale appeared in his hand and he grabbed it. No. Destiny scale. Tai Xian spat out large mouthfuls of blood in midair. However, the surrounding battle spears attacked the canyon at the same time. Go! Li Qinglian's expression changed. She quickly used the purple cloud sword array to wrap everyone and retreated into the canyon. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 943. Let's bring senior brother Tai Xian back first. Meng Yao took a deep look at Di Shirtian. Then, without hesitation, she agreed and quickly retreated into the Death Canyon. With just a glance, she could clearly feel that there was a murderous intent on him that didn't have the slightest bit of mercy for them. This murderous intent didn't have the slightest sign of mercy. His attack on Tai Xian was directly forcing him into a desperate situation. Also, Indra had unfathomable innate technique. His words were like the law of nature. Even the laws of fate had no way to defend against him. Even a supreme treasure like the scales of fate was forcefully seized away. That stealing the sky and swapping the sun was too strange. If he stretched out his hand and grabbed the clothes away, he would probably have to find a hole to hide in. Humph! Heartless brother D. Ding Dang glanced at Di Shirtian coquettishly and twitched her little nose. Her words had a hint of coquettishness, which made one's imagination run wild. She gently shook her snow-white arm. The bells on her arm gently collided with each other, making a pleasant ringing sound. She was like the most beautiful fairy in the world. She turned and went into the canyon. The wind-calming bells kept the strange wind in check. The sloppy monk only opened his blurred eyes and swept a few glances over Sakra's body. Where the battle spear points, kill demons and exterminate people. All battle spears, listen to my command. Hide in the void. Anyone who leaves the canyon will be killed. Di Shirtian didn't have the slightest bit of pity for all the gazes. Their goal was not to kill Tai Xian, but to force them to step into the depths of the Death Canyon. If they were really forced into a corner, even if they could block them, the Zishao swordsman's battle strength would be enough to defeat them, and their side would still suffer considerable losses. Instead, he let them retreat into the canyon. Once they were trapped in the strange wind of death. If they wanted to walk out again, it wouldn't be as easy as they thought. According to Medusa, once they went deep into the canyon, the strange wind would blow, and the sky would turn dark. It was impossible to distinguish the path. It was like a maze. If they were trapped for too long, even if they had the ability to reach the heavens, they would still be blown to death by the strange wind. Rumble, Emperor Battle Spear, 5 Elements Battle Spear, Poison Battle Spear, Storm Battle Spear, Thunder Battle Spear. The 9 battle spears flew into the air at the same time and appeared in the sky above the canyon. They arranged themselves according to the position of the 9 palaces, forming a huge killing formation that covered the entire canyon and stirred up the void. All the battle spears strangely merged with the void and disappeared. However, one could vaguely see the sharp edges of the battle spears pointing downwards. As long as any living being came out of the canyon, the battle spear would immediately launch a thunderous attack. Woo woo woo! Li Qinglian's group took Tai Xian and quickly retreated into the canyon. Immediately, sharp wind whistling sounds came from the countless caves around the canyon. Suddenly, a pitch-black wind of death blew out, forming a terrifying whirlwind. The scene in front of them changed abruptly. He could no longer see his surroundings clearly. The sky had turned dark. The terrifying strange wind could not be stopped at all. It swept towards the group of people crazily. The purple firmament sword formation immediately protected everyone under the formation. Battle swords slashed in all directions, and countless purple lightning bolts exploded continuously. The formation and the strange wind were in a stalemate. The hundreds of millions of whirlwinds around them could not move an inch. Hee. I want them to have a taste of being schemed against and falling into a trap. Even I can't see through this canyon. I don't believe that they can escape so easily. Quick, look at that destiny scale. It's a treasure personally refined by the ruler of destiny. It can directly connect to the river of destiny. If you can use it, it will be a great help to your strength. Dark glanced at the valley with a satisfied expression. At this moment, the canyon was enveloped by countless strange winds. It was so strong that one could not see his fingers in front of him. In the past, he had been schemed against. Now that he had forced the outstanding geniuses of the 10 great immortal sects into a trap, he naturally felt very different. However, his attention was immediately attracted by the purple gold destiny scale in Di Shirtian's hand. This was the ruler's treasure. Even though Dark had followed the Emperor of the Dead, who was a top expert of the ancient era, he still could not help but feel excited. On the destiny scale, there were traces of destiny. If one looked at each trace carefully, they would feel as if one's mind had suddenly sunk into a vast and boundless river. Intertwined together, they seemed abnormally profound. On top of it there were 9 purple gold chips. The entire destiny scale contained a thick halo of destiny. However, it was as if a divine object was concealing itself. When it landed in Di Shirtian's hand, the divine light that had been emitting was suddenly retracted. There was no light at all, and it looked like an ordinary purple-gold destiny scale. He had subtly retracted all of his divine power. Di Shirtian activated the Imperial Extreme True Force, and pure Imperial Extreme True Force flowed through the demon veins into the destiny scale. However, when the Imperial Extreme True Force reached the destiny scale, it seemed to have hit a sturdy wall. There was no sign of it entering the scale at all. Clearly, this was because the destiny scale had a spirit. It had already recognized its master, and it was difficult to gain its recognition. Not even a trace of true force could enter. Humph! A divine object has a spirit, so it's unclean? In that case, I will give you this chance. You don't need to continue existing in the future. After a series of tests, Di Shirtian found that he could not control this treasure of destiny. However, he did not force it. He only glanced at the destiny scale and said calmly. He took out a jade box, placed the destiny scale in it, and set a seal. He sent it into his inner world. Humph! Since this destiny scale does not know how to appreciate kindness, Madman D, since this is the case, we'll go all out and send it into Myriad Demon City. We'll use the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive to refine and absorb it. We'll steal the destiny laws within. This destiny scale is a supreme treasure. The laws within will definitely be enough to form the complete destiny spell in the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive. What is in your hands is the most real thing. Dark yelled fiercely. In the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive, there were 3,000 talismans of the Great Tao. Among them, there were a few that were the most powerful and the most difficult to perfect. Among them, fate, space, time, power, seal, destruction, life, death, soul, inner demon, and so on. Each of them could be said to be the most powerful law in the world. To perfect them was almost the most difficult. Whether it was the cultivation method, mystique, or law fragments related to them, they were all extremely difficult to find. For example, the destiny spell in the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive only had less than 1,000th of a complete talisman. Moreover, it was unusually illusory. It was formed from the fragments of the laws of nature obtained after the death of a fate stealer in Demonic City. If the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive wanted to perfect it, it would be a long way to go. However, the destiny scale in front of them was refined by the Master of Destiny, who had completely mastered the River of Destiny. It contained the most complete destiny laws. In the eyes of others, this was a supreme treasure. However, in the eyes of the Imperial Extreme Jade Archive, this was an irreplaceable delicacy. Let's go! Tion glanced at the Death Canyon and realized that the canyon had been completely enveloped by the black wind. Even he felt incomparably fearful of the dense aura of death. If he fell deeply into it, he might really not be able to get out. However, he had no intention of going in personally to try. With an order, he immediately soared out of the canyon. Riding on the soaring sky throne, he returned to the original route. This time, he didn't really come to the Death Canyon to pass through here. He just wanted to trap Tai Xian and the others and force them in. He wanted to kick away all the people who were following behind him and were ready to plot against him at any time. He definitely wouldn't forget his real purpose in coming to the heaven-reaching tower. What happened just now was just the tip of the iceberg. The demon summoning banner was his real purpose. Of course, this scheme was also incomparably important to him. The demon summoning banner's significance was too important. It could be said to be the symbol of the demon clan. If there were really people following behind him, Tion wouldn't be able to truly go to the Tianping mystery realm with peace of mind. Otherwise, once the news was leaked, what awaited him would be countless experts swarming over. He was afraid that even the demon summoning banner would be difficult to protect. Now, after sending Tai Xian and the others into the Death Canyon, Tion also breathed a sigh of relief. When the matter was done, he would leave without hesitation. Immediately, the group soared into the sky and quickly headed to their destination under the guidance of Medusa. At this moment, in the fairy pool in the Demon City. In a pavilion, beautiful maids stood in the surroundings. In the pavilion, dressed in a phoenix dress, she was graceful and noble, naturally revealing a unique temperament that belonged to the Demon Empress. Chun Shi of the Heavenly Mother Empress was sitting in it. In front of her, dressed in silver-white armor and carrying a silver-white saber on his back, the Demon Guard Commander Baiyu stood respectfully in front of her. Looking at the ground, he didn't dare to look at Chun Shi casually. Chun Shi's expression was slightly solemn. She looked at Baiyu and gave Baiyu an indescribable pressure. She said, "You're saying that Princess Chu Yun, who was imprisoned in the heavenly prison, has disappeared from the heavenly prison without any warning? With the guards in the heavenly prison and the Blood Massacre General guarding it, how could she have such great ability?" Empress. According to the jailer guarding the heavenly prison, at that time, Chu Yun was in the heavenly prison when her body suddenly emitted a purple light, and her entire person became extremely mysterious. It was as if she had suddenly changed into a different person. Then, she broke out of the heavenly prison and disappeared. This subordinate has already used a secret technique to check the jailer's memories. It is indeed true. Baiyu said with a cold expression. She turned into a purple light and left? Chun Shi pondered in her heart. She also had a considerable impression of Chu Yun. She had once heard that she was a princess who had clamored to capture her husband as a spiritual pet. Previously, when she was captured in the endless void and imprisoned in the heavenly prison, nothing major had happened. She didn't expect such an accident to happen at this time. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 944. Erase if you have a ticket. If I'm not mistaken, Chu Yun should be the princess of the ancient imperial dynasty. The heavenly prison is guarded by the Blood Slaughterer General, and there are countless restrictions and seals. Even a peerless expert can't enter the heavenly prison without any warning. But you said that no one else appeared with Chu-yun. She just disappeared in a ray of purple light. Could it be that she's the reincarnation of an ancient expert? She thought to himself. There was no doubt that the heavenly prison was sturdy and powerful. The entire heavenly prison had the most restrictive spells in the entire demon city. Once one entered, one's cultivation base would be restricted. With Chu-yun's strength, even if she cultivated for hundreds or thousands of years, she wouldn't be able to leave the heavenly prison as she pleased. However, the most impossible thing had really happened. She couldn't help but guess. Now was the time when a great era had arrived. In the ancient era, every peerless expert was definitely not easy to deal with. Usually, they would set up a trap for themselves for thousands or tens of thousands of years. Even if they died, they could crawl out from somewhere. Don't underestimate even the most insignificant cultivators in the ancient era. It was very likely that they had already arranged for their reincarnation. Perhaps a certain prodigy of the present was actually a certain powerhouse of the ancient times. After thinking for a while, she didn't think too much about it. He temporarily put it down and remembered it in his heart. He looked at Bai Yu and said, "Apart from Chu-yun, did anything happen to the other prisoners in the heavenly prison?" Reporting to the Empress, apart from Chu-yun, everything is normal. Bai Yu replied without hesitation. She pondered for a while and immediately ordered, "Pass down my order. Immediately take the 9 holy maidens of the Thousand Moons sect and seal their cultivation. Send them to the peach garden and hand them over to the 100 herb fairy, by Susu, to arrange the specific matters of the 9 women. Let them take care of the peach garden temporarily to prevent anything from happening in the heavenly prison." The 9 holy maidens of the Thousand Moons sect were still imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Although she didn't know the reason why something happened in the heavenly prison, she was a little worried about locking them up again. "Yes." Bai Yue immediately agreed. "Send a message to Tian Can and Huang Quan elders, order them to enter the heavenly prison immediately and lead the blood slaughterer generals to carefully investigate the heavenly prison, set up new restrictions, seals, and carve seal patterns. Set up the formation. The heavenly prison is the foundation of the Thousand Fiend City's laws. We absolutely cannot allow for the slightest flaw." She ordered again. "As you wish, Your Highness." Bai Yu nodded solemnly. After that, Bai Yu bowed and quickly left the Jade Lake. She sat quietly in the pavilion. She seemed to be deep in thought. What had just happened seemed to have affected her. After a long while, she said to the people around her, "Pass down my order. I'll be hosting a banquet in the Jade Pool. I'll be inviting the Elven Queen, the Elven Princess, and Tian Xiu and Tian Ro from the Heavenly Human Tribe, to congratulate them for entering the Thousand Demon City. The 3 princesses of the Dragon race and the little princess of the Sky Fragrance race will attend the banquet together." As soon as she finished speaking, the maids outside the pavilion immediately agreed and quickly went out of the Jade Pool to send out the invitations. "I hope you can get the demon summoning banner as soon as possible. Return to the Thousand Demon City and guard it." Shi's eyes were deep as he looked into the void. Night slowly fell in the sky, dotted with countless stars. Strands of starlight continued to sprinkle down. It was as if her gaze could penetrate the void and see the figure stationed in her heart. There was no lack of worry in her eyes. She knew where he was going. The Heaven Gate Forbidden Land, the Tower of Babel, was one of the 9 most mysterious forbidden lands in the world. Especially the Tower of Babel, there were countless savage beasts in it. There were too many unknowns, and if one died in there, it would be really difficult to call for help. The Tower of Babel almost cut off the connection between the Thousand Demon City and the Thousand Demon City. In the tower, it was impossible to summon the Thousand Demon City. Once something happened, the Thousand Demon City could not be a powerful trump card, and could not be a deterrent. The worry in her heart was not unreasonable. And on the purple gold continent, A piece of news was crazily spreading to the 10,000 worlds. Countless divine senses intertwined and collided in the void. The 1,000-hero peak assembly has come to an end. The Supreme Mystery Sect has announced to all the experts in the world that the Jade Tablet will be shared by all the races in the heavens. Anyone who has any ideas about the Jade Tablet will be the common enemy of all the races in the heavens. All the major forces have signed an agreement. They will enter the Demon Suppression Valley together and work together to explore the legacy. In the valley, any harvest will belong to the finder. No force can force it. Whoever finds it will have it. It is truly fair and just. It all depends on luck and opportunity. If there is a renege, all those who have signed the agreement will jointly eliminate the violator. The 1,000-hero peak has agreed on a time. 3 days later, with the Jade Tablet and the secret map, we will enter the Demon Suppression Valley together. We will officially begin the first exploration of the Demon Suppression Valley. This news immediately spread crazily in the 10,000 world. At this moment, the thing that countless cultivators and experts were most concerned about was the Demon Suppression Valley, which contained the heart of the demon ancestor. This was the legendary Sovereign Tao Foundation. It was also an ancient legacy. No matter what, it had an extraordinary attraction to cultivators. The meeting at the 1,000-hero peak immediately decided the time to go to the Demon Suppression Valley. For a time, countless cultivators went to the 1,000-hero peak, ready to enter the Demon Suppression Valley together when the time came. They wanted to see how their luck was and whether they could obtain the ancient treasure inside. Suddenly, the atmosphere on the purple-gold continent became a little different. It seemed to be boiling but also calm. It was like a special aura before a storm. However, the Dragon Clan, the Star Clan, and other races that suddenly withdrew did not continue to participate. Instead, they restrained their clansmen calmly and quietly watched from the side. It was as if they were waiting for the final result of the trip to the Demon Suppression Valley. No matter what, at this moment, almost all the eyes in the world were gathered on the Demon Suppression Valley. While the news was spreading crazily on the purple-gold continent. At this moment, in the heaven-reaching tower, Di Shirtian and the others had already appeared in front of a mysterious valley. Without Tai Xian and the others following, without any pressure in their hearts, they directly flew in the air and followed the route shown on the secret map. Their speed was not slow, and with the guidance of Medusa, they did not encounter any accidents. At this moment, they arrived in front of the valley in front of them. Look at this valley. It was a little different. There were narrow mountain streams all around, and in the south, there was a huge waterfall. Looking at the mountain stream and the waterfall, there should be a huge pool or lake in the valley. The air was filled with thick water vapor. At the edge of the valley, there was a kind of red fruit growing. The fruit emitted a tempting fragrance. These fruits grew on a strange tree with a snake-like body. On the ground in front of the valley, one could acutely see that there were rugged traces. It seemed that something had crawled over. In the sky above the valley, water vapor rose and rushed into the faint mist that permeated the air, emitting a dense rainbow color. Looking at it, it gave off a magical feeling. Entering the valley seemed to be connected in all directions, but there was still a main passage. This is the 1,000-Snake Valley. Di Shirtian took out the secret map and placed it in front of him. Sure enough, on the map, there was a sign pointing to the strange valley in front of him. The unfilial descendant has finally arrived at the secret map left by the Ancestor. I hope Wuya can see the Ancestor with his own eyes. Shui Wuya's usually elegant face revealed a hint of excitement. That was a rhythm that came from the bloodline. The descendants would often have an indescribable mysterious connection with the Ancestor. Monster King, my mother lives in the valley. I will go in and ask my mother to come out. Medusa stood in front of the valley with a trace of hesitation on her face. However, she still turned around and looked at Di Shirtian. Let me say hello to your mother. Di Shirtian nodded and said, if it was any other place, He could enter without asking, but this was the place where Medusa's mother lived. Even if it was out of courtesy, he couldn't just enter directly. After all, respect was mutual. Moreover, there was a possibility that Medusa's mother was inside. Letting Medusa inform her first was the right thing to do. Please wait a moment. Medusa nodded slightly to Schwescher, Hulusi, and the others, then turned around and walked into the valley. The valley was rugged, and in the blink of an eye, her figure had disappeared. 1 minute, 2 minutes. After 3 minutes, there was still no movement in the valley. Even Medusa didn't respond, as if she was a stone that had directly sunk into the sea. There was no response. This caused the group of monster kings waiting outside to have a slightly strange expression, and there was no lack of impatience. Monster King, Medusa has been in the valley for so long, but she hasn't responded at all. Could it be that something happened in the valley? Shuewuya said hesitantly. Why don't we enter the valley? Bai Zian also said. After all, Medusa hasn't returned to Tong Tian Tower for a while. Maybe something really happened. Why don't we go in and meet her? Xie Sanyang said. There was also some suspicion. Wait a moment. Di Shirtian took a deep breath and stood quietly in front of the valley, looking into the valley. At the same time, a strange light flashed in his eyes. He automatically activated his innate ability, all-seeing eyes. He looked into the valley, but strangely, this valley seemed to be covered by a layer of mysterious power, and the all-seeing eyes couldn't see through it to see the scene in the valley. This valley is not simple. A thought suddenly appeared in his mind. However, he still didn't act rashly. Another 3 minutes passed. Di Shirtian's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. A glint flashed across his eyes. There was decisiveness between his brows, and he said decisively, "Let's go, let's enter the valley." To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 945. Di Shirtian was not surprised that the Snake Queen was the guardian of the Tianping mystic realm. When he heard Medusa say that the place where her mother lived was almost exactly the same as the location indicated on the map, he had already guessed in his heart. Previously, he was 70% certain, but now it had been completely confirmed. He only had one impression of the Snake Queen. Strong. Very strong. Extremely strong. Even if he was standing in front of her, no matter how Sakura looked at it, he couldn't sense what level her cultivation had reached. Hidden under her seemingly calm expression was an irresistible and terrifying power. Even though he looked like an ordinary person standing in front of him, Lin Fan could not help but feel a sense of relief. However, it was precisely this that made him even more fearful. This kind of fear was a sign that he could not control. An emperor had to have the consciousness to control everything around him. Wherever he stood, he would be able to prop up the world that he dominated. This was a subconscious action. Even the most powerful ancient giants had never given Di Shirtian such an uncontrollable feeling. However, he felt it from the Snake Queen. This was an incredible existence, an extremely terrifying expert. This was definitely an almighty being at the level of an unparalleled expert. "May I ask the Snake Empress if my subordinates who came with me?" Indra's expression was calm as he looked at the Snake Empress and asked. Although he did not finish his sentence, the meaning of his words could be clearly understood. "Don't worry, your subordinates are resting in the valley right now." The Snake Queen looked at him and said, "I want to remind you that if you enter the Tianping mystic realm without the recognition of the demon summoning banner, you will never be able to leave the mystic realm. It is up to you to decide whether you want to go or not." After the Snake Queen finished speaking, she did not say anything else and just waited calmly. One lives, one dies? Di Shirtian's gaze became somewhat deep, but he could understand the meaning behind it. The demon summoning banner in the Tianpeng mystic realm was the demon race's #1 treasure. It was related to the demon race's destiny. If he left without the recognition of the demon summoning banner, it would immediately attract the attention of countless wolves if news leaked. It was a great danger to the monster summoning banner. I'll have to trouble you to send me into the secret territory. Sakura took a deep breath and made his decision without the slightest hesitation. Indecisiveness will lead to chaos. All right. The Snake Queen looked at him deeply and nodded. I wish you good luck. Only the demon race can enter the Tianpeng mystic realm. I can't enter and can't help you. After saying that, he waved his hand, and an ancient golden door appeared before him. Inside the door, ripples spread out like water waves. Pa-ta! Deshirtian then walked into the golden door. As soon as he entered, a strange fluctuation spread out from the door, enveloping his entire body. It was as if he was shuttling through countless dimensions at high speed. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared. Seeing that Deshirtian had already entered the Tianpeng mystic realm, the Snake Queen shook her head slightly and muttered to herself, "This Deshirtian is indeed a hero of the demon race since ancient times. He was just a black tiger, but he was able to cut through the thorns and reach his current heaven-defying combat strength. Even if the 3 lists and 1 chart were to be reopened, he would still be the top genius of the generation on the list. However, the Tianpeng mystic realm was not as easy to pass as one imagined. I didn't expect to encounter such a thing when I sent my daughter there. I hope that the tomb of the god of sin can temporarily hide the secret of the southern barbarian." He shook his head. He glanced at the golden door. He closed his eyes and stood quietly outside. He waited silently. At this moment, on the purple gold land, in a mountain range. In the mountain range there were towering peaks. The atmosphere of each peak was different. There were more than 1,000 peaks, as if they were heroes with different atmospheres. When gathered together, there was a different aura. And in the middle there was the largest peak. That peak was like a hero among heroes, standing proudly. Its aura suppressed the entire mountain range. And on these peaks, at this moment, countless cultivators and experts had gathered, making it extremely lively. Not far from the 1,000 peaks, on an inconspicuous mountain peak, the know-it-all and the Demon King were standing on it. They each held a jar of wine and looked at the peak. What a bunch of idiots who don't know what death is. These days they're even rushing to die. The know-it-all smacked his lips and drank a few mouthfuls of spirit wine. He shook his head and said, "These people don't even think about what kind of place the Demon Suppression Valley is. It was one of the most intense battlefields in ancient times. Even the ruler personally sealed the heart of the demon Ancestor? If it was so easy to get, why would it be kept until now? It's just a pity for the Wine God clan. Back then, I even freeloaded wine from their clan. I've also been friends with the Wine God for many years. I didn't expect things to have changed." He smiled with a hint of melancholy and sighed. "If it weren't for the D-Brat, I wouldn't have known that so many demon gods had infiltrated the demon god continent. Demon King, you're supervising the myriad worlds. How do you plan to deal with the demon gods?" the know-it-all asked. He looked at the Demon King with interest. His heart had turned cold towards the demon gods. What happened back then was an unresolvable knot for any demon powerhouse, an unforgettable pain. Demon gods? Now, this son of a bitch was foolishly standing in front of them. The 3 rulers have long sensed it, but the ruler is setting up a big plan. When the 3 lists and 1 chart reopen, there will be a conclusion. The Demon King coldly glanced at the 1,000 peaks and said indifferently, "As for now, since they want to make a fuss, let them make a fuss for a while, and let the humans have a taste of the demon gods." TSK. The know-it-all looked at the Demon King playfully. As the supervisor, he had to stabilize the myriad world. Now, there were demon gods gathered in the Demon Suppression Valley. Logically speaking, he should have announced it to the myriad worlds. His current actions were clearly dereliction of duty. "Aren't you afraid that the ruler will blame you?" The Demon King waved his sleeve, turned and left. "I have an illness. My eyes and ears." The know-it-all smiled and shook his head. He looked in the direction of the sky-split tower and muttered to himself, "That guy Tian Peng actually brought the demon summoning banner into the sky-split tower. I hope the Emperor Kid can get his hands on it soon. The 3 lists and 1 chart will reopen, and the world will be in chaos. However, we demons will take advantage of the chaos to rise. I hope he really does have that kind of luck." After standing there for a long time, his figure disappeared in an instant. Meanwhile, in the sky-split tower, in the Tian Peng mystic realm, after Di Shi Tian entered the golden door, he was immediately enveloped by a strange power and transported to a mysterious area. The teleportation didn't last for too long. In the blink of an eye, the mysterious power around him dissipated, and the scenery in front of him changed. "This is the primordial starry sky?" Di Shi Tian looked around and quickly scanned his surroundings. That one glance was enough to take in everything around him. However, the environment around him still surprised him. All around him were dazzling stars. Each star was incomparably huge. They were scattered throughout the vast area, forming a boundless starry space. At a glance, one could see countless stars. They were so densely packed that it was difficult to estimate. Clearly, if he was not mistaken, this was the most realistic astral space. He could clearly sense the power of the stars around him. It was unusually dense. He circulated his cultivation technique and absorbed it into his body, making him feel very comfortable. "Crazy Emperor, the aura here is very similar to the primordial starry sky." "No, it really is the same aura as the primordial starry sky. However, that doesn't seem right. The primordial starry sky's aura should have completely changed because of the primordial starry sky's aura. This place is very strange." Nether blinked and looked around seriously. He felt a very familiar aura in the stars. "Huh. Look, isn't that the starry sky battlefield formed by countless almighty demonkin experts in the primordial starry sky? Wasn't the starry sky battlefield destroyed? Why is it still here?" Suddenly, Dark's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Di Shi Tian looked over. Within the astral space there was an incomparably large continent. Although it was called a continent, it was actually made up of countless stars gathered together to form a battlefield. One could clearly see that the stars were fusing together and emitting dazzling starlight. In the starry sky, this battlefield was the most dazzling star. "This is the starry sky battlefield of the primordial starry sky? I've heard of it before." When Di Shi Tian saw that vast continent, traces of radiance flashed across his eyes. However, he also knew from various sources that the starry sky battlefield had been completely destroyed in the Great Battle. Later, the fragments were refined into 9 stars by the starry sky race, forming the powerful 9 stars pearl. Hiss! Suddenly, Dark sucked in a breath of cold air again and looked to the other side. A pitch-black continent also appeared in the starry sky battlefield. This continent was not the slightest bit smaller than the star continent. However, it was not formed by the accumulation of stars. Instead, it was formed by the accumulation of ferocious demon god skeletons. Among those skeletons, there were demonic beasts and various demon gods. Among them, there were skeletons tens of thousands of feet tall. When they were alive, they were all powerful demon gods. The skeletons were so huge that they were uncountable. The entire starry sky battlefield was filled with a ferocious and terrifying aura. Demon Burial Battle Island. This is the Demon Burial Battle Island of the Demon God continent. It not only buries demon gods but also billions of lives. The aura alone can kill countless cultivators. Didn't this Starry Sky Battlefield Island collapse together with the Starry Sky Battlefield Island? Why is it here? No, this is very wrong. Is this an illusion? No, this is not an illusion. Did we go back to the primordial Starry Sky Battlefield? Nether's mind was already a little confused by the things in front of him. He found it hard to accept the scene in front of him. This was something that he had experienced in the past. He was very sure that this was definitely not an illusion. No matter how realistic an illusion was, it would not be able to achieve the scene in front of him. Time travel? Could it be time travel? To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 946. It's the end of the month. The 10,000 demons have entered a crucial part of the plot. Reality. Underworld was quite sure that what it was seeing and feeling now was definitely not an illusion. It was real. The power of the stars, the ancient aura, and even the murderous aura from the void all evoked its ancient memories. If it was an illusion, it would definitely not be so real. Although there was a saying that when the real turned into the real turned into the fake, and when the fake turned into the fake turned into the real. The ultimate emperor mask in Di Shirtian's hand had two superpowers, one was real and the other was illusory. This was the extreme performance of real and fake. But even so, it still could not be said to be real. Fake was fake. There was still a slight difference between real and fake. But what was in front of it was completely different. Delusion breaker. Di Shirtian suppressed the shock in his heart. There was no panic on his face. Between his brows, the heavenly punishment divine eye opened. In the divine eye, there was a flash of purple-gold divine light. It coldly scanned the surrounding starry sky. The power of delusion breaker spurted out. Under the divine eye, everything that was seen would be completely exposed. As long as it was an illusion, there was no chance of escape under the delusion breaker eye. However, what shocked him was that under the divine eye, every star around him was the most real. Every wisp of star power was also the most real. There was not a trace of falsehood. What he was in wasn't an illusion. It was all real. Lunatic D, if I'm not wrong, we have returned to the ancient times. And we have returned to the most intense moment of the battle between the purple gold continent and the demon god continent. The astral battle island and the demon burial battle island in front of us should be the biggest battle of the ancient times. The great battle of heaven. The shock in Underworld's eyes slowly disappeared. His eyes shone. The demon god diagram, the blood altar, the 9 ancient lamps, the demon summoning banner, the ancestor summoning, and the great battle of heaven. There was a hint of solemnity in his voice. It was as if he was shouting from the underworld. In the ancient times, the great battle of heaven had wiped out the elites of the demon clan. A large number of demon gods had fallen. The blood of billions of living beings dyed the blue sky. After the battle, even the sky had collapsed. That was a battle to bury the heavens. After confirming that the world around him was not an illusion, Ming was certain that he was in the ancient times. Moreover, he was in the sky-toppling battlefield of the past. In his memories, the demon gods and the monster race had fallen like raindrops in the battle back then. The battle was so fierce that even the heavens and earth were crying. A rain of blood fell. I'm really dreaming of ancient times. Tianpeng Mystic Realm? Did something unexpected happen during the teleportation, or is this the true mystery of the Tianpeng Mystery Realm? Di Shirtian's eyes were abnormally deep. He quickly thought about it in his mind. To be able to directly send him back to the ancient times, this already involved the domain of time and space. This was the mutual domain of time and space. It was reversing the flow of time. This was the river of time and space, turning back to the ancient times. Di Shirtian was certain that the ability to reverse spacetime was something that even a sovereign would find difficult to control. Unless a sovereign of time was born in the world and joined forces with a sovereign of space, there would be such a heaven-defying ability. If the spacetime was unintentionally distorted and caused him to deviate from spacetime and return to the ancient times, It would be a creation created by the escape of heaven and earth. However, if it was done intentionally, it would be extremely terrifying. Tian Peng Demon Venerable had the ability to reverse spacetime? He would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Lunatic D, you have returned to the primordial era in the middle of a great war like this. You must be very careful. If you die here, you will truly be dead. Dark said with a serious expression, even monster gods have fallen on the battlefield in the past. The battle was extremely tragic. Countless ancient heavenly demons had perished. Although your battle strength is heaven-defying, you still have to be careful on the battlefield. Since the ancient times, he knew very well how terrifying the great battle of heaven was. Clang! It was unknown when Sakra's right hand had landed on Tiger Soul's slender hilt. With a twist of his wrist, Tiger Soul was instantly unsheathed with a deep tiger roar. The green bead on Tiger Soul had already turned blood red. Waves of Tiger Soul's power continuously drilled into the battle saber, causing Tiger Soul to upgrade to a high-grade Earth-rank demon weapon. At every moment, the aura emitted by the Tiger Soul continued to grow stronger. Holding Tiger Soul in his right hand, he slowly brushed his left hand across the saber. An indomitable aura surged from his body, forming an unyielding battle intent. His battle intent was unprecedentedly high. The gaze in his eyes made it impossible for others to look at him directly. Hide? Why should I hide? In an instant, an indescribable aura exuded from Di Shirtian's body. He said resolutely, I, Di Shirtian, was born tens of thousands of years ago. I have always regretted that I was not fortunate enough to join hands with my ancestors to reverse the great battle of heaven. I have never had the chance to see the heroic spirits of the demon race in person. Since I have the chance now, I, Di Shirtian, will not shirk away from this battle. Kacha! After he finished speaking, he looked at Tiger Soul in his hand. With a twist of his wrist, Tiger Soul returned to its scabbard, allowing it to continue upgrading to Earth Tier Superior Grade. Immediately after, his body swayed, and a purple-gold divine light appeared under his feet. Within this divine light, there seemed to be countless battle tigers gathered and countless divine dragons danced. Countless emperors were describing the emperor's heart technique. It exuded the noble aura of an emperor. It could suppress all directions. The nearby stars seemed to be affected by the pressure, and their movements were a little shaky. This was the Emperor's divine light formed by gathering Emperor's purple chi. Whoosh! With a flash of divine light, Di Shirtian was enveloped in the Emperor's divine light. He quickly flew toward the astral battle island where the demon race was stationed. In his heart, he was a little excited. In the future, he would be the demon emperor of the world. In this ancient great battle of heaven, he was a demon race warrior who witnessed and participated in the glorious history of the demon race. From now on, it's not that I admire history, it's that I am history. Astral Battle Island, stop! The Emperor's divine light was abnormally fast. Although there was a saying that Mount Hope was extremely fast, the astral space was extremely vast. Each star was millions of miles apart. Although he could see the astral battle island, it was still abnormally far away. However, under the Emperor's divine light, his speed was extremely fast. In just 2 hours, he had already arrived at the astral battle island. At a glance, this astral battle island was indeed made up of countless stars gathered together. In each star, there were astral crystals that could continuously emit vast amounts of astral energy. Now that they had gathered together, the astral energy on the entire astral battle island was so dense that it was almost like liquid. Every breath was absorbing a large amount of astral energy. In such an illusion, even if one didn't cultivate, one's cultivation base could rapidly increase. However, in the sky above the astral battle island, there were strange astral battle flags that were constantly devouring astral energy. On the astral battle island, there were demon race warriors wearing powerful battle armors and exuding an austere aura. They stood around like statues. Most of the demon race warriors were gathered in the barracks on the astral battle island. Although the demon race hadn't undergone unified training before, now they were obviously cooperating with each other. Every single one of them was a demon race warrior. The demon chi that emanated from their bodies could be clearly felt. Even the weakest demon race warrior had the battle strength of an ancient demon king. Most of them had the battle strength of an ancient demon saint. There was also a large number of ancient celestial demons. The ancient era was the most glorious era. Experts emerged in large numbers. With a rough estimation, each barracks had at least 30 million demon race warriors. There were 5 barracks like this, which added up to hundreds of millions of demon race warriors. In the ancient era, our demon race was so powerful. Although Di Shirtian had read about it in ancient books, he still felt a strong sense of pride when he saw it in real life. However, he could also guess that these were probably all the elites of the demon race. No wonder the entire demon race fell into a trough when they were exhausted. The damage to their vitality was not just a little. In response to the demon gathering order, I have come to the astral battle island to fight the fiend celestials to the death. Indra didn't put on any airs as he listened to the 2 demon clan warriors who had the battle prowess of an ancient demon saint. He merely released his demon chi and the aura of an ancient heavenly demon and slightly released his demon chi. Ming said. With Ming around, he naturally knew that the demon race didn't force any of their clansmen to enter the battlefield. They only issued the demon gathering order, and it was up to them to resist the fiend celestials' invasion. Those who were willing could head to the astral battle island. So it's a senior from our clan. How should I address you? A demon race warrior's expression relaxed slightly as he continued to ask. Di Shirtian. Senior, please enter the astral battle island. Senior is an ancient celestial demon and is not arranged to enter the barrack. You are only required to fight the fiend celestials. There are trading places on the astral battle island that belong to your level. Many seniors are present. Senior D, would you like to rest first or head to the trading place? After entering the astral battle island, a Fox clan woman immediately came forward and spoke respectfully. A trading place that belongs to the ancient celestial demon level? Di Shirtian's eyes narrowed when he heard that. This kind of trade fair was definitely one of the best in the world. The things that were valued by the ancient celestial demons were definitely not ordinary treasures. In the past, he had never participated in such a top-notch trade fair. He could imagine that the items inside must be priceless. The city here was an ancient city refined with countless spiritual materials. Yes, lead the way. Sakura almost didn't have the slightest hesitation as he nodded right away. He knew that the trade fair held at this time was especially important. Perhaps, obtaining something at the trade fair could immediately increase one's battle strength, or even achieve a breakthrough. Furthermore, at the trade fair, every single one of them was a well-known expert. Befriending them would bring him great benefit. Lunatic D, this trade fair must not be missed. There are many things inside that might be of great use. If there is a celestial demon level trade fair, there must be a demon saint level trade fair and a demon god level trade fair as well. If you can enter a demon god level trade fair, your gains will definitely be greater. Ming licked his lips excitedly and exclaimed, If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 947. Please vote. Brothers, support me. In this kind of trade fair that was close to the big battle, both parties would take out their most precious things to trade. After all, any treasure that could not immediately increase one's combat strength was of little value. No one could guarantee that they could survive to the end in a battle with the demon god. The purpose of holding trade fairs was to make each other's combat strength stronger. In the upcoming fierce battle, they could kill the demon gods more fiercely and strengthen their life-saving foundation. Therefore, under such pressure, they would often take out their most precious treasures. Only in this kind of trade could the gains be maximized. Of course, de Chertion did not think that such a trade fair was only held between ancient heavenly demons. He was sure that there must be trade fairs for demon saints or even demon gods in other places. The trade fairs entered at different levels were also different. After all, power determined the level. Under the lead of the Fox clan maid, they walked into the battle island. Along the way, they could clearly see that there were demon clan warriors almost everywhere. He was trying his best to absorb the power of the stars around him. He was seizing every moment to improve his cultivation base and cultivation base. They were nervously making a last effort for the upcoming battle. Looking at the war island, there were mountains of stars standing tall. There were all kinds of stars growing on them. The power of the stars floated and intertwined, forming all kinds of illusions, which had a strange charm. Although the war island was refined for fighting with the demon gods, there were still some simple buildings. On the war island, countless demon clan members gathered together, looking extremely lively. However, they were not in the mood to chat. A kind of oppressive aura could be smelled in the air. This was the atmosphere before the big battle, like the calm before the storm. They are indeed the elites of the demon clan. Compared to ancient times, the overall strength of the demon clan gathered in the demon city is not at the same level at all. De Chertion looked at the demon clan on the war island. He secretly compared them with the demon clan in the demon city. He felt that the two were not on the same level at all. Walking on the war island, the weakest demon clan member was an elite at the peak of the ancient demon king level. Most of them were fiend saints. On War Island there were several billion of these fiend race experts. In his heart, he felt that there was still a long way to go. Senior D, we've arrived. Not long after, they arrived at the center of the island and appeared in front of a huge palace. This palace occupied an extremely large area and was formed by numerous palaces gathered together. The White Fox maidservant introduced, "This is called the Imperial Palace. It's a place for senior Skyfae realm experts to reside in. Mr. D, you also have an independent hall. The trade fair is also held inside. It would be done once a day. You came at the right time. Today's trade fair will begin soon." This maidservant was exceptionally obedient and quick-witted, but she was naturally charming. Then, he introduced them to him in detail. Take me directly to the trade fair." De Chertion didn't want to miss such a top-level trade fair, so he immediately nodded and said directly, "Okay, please come with me." The maidservant didn't hesitate and led the way into the hall. The guards at the door didn't stop them and just bowed to de Chertion respectfully. After entering the palace, they passed through several halls in succession. Finally, they arrived in front of the most majestic hall. They didn't stop and walked straight in. Swish, swish, swish. The moment de Chertion stepped in, many blade-like gazes landed on his face like lightning. In these gazes, there was a trace of majestic oppressive force. Vaguely, there were supreme wills that were testing him. Rumble? De Chertion didn't even think about it. The Emperor's will that had condensed into an illusory form in his body instantly broke out of his body. In an instant, it emitted a domineering pressure. The wills contained in those gazes were all withdrawn after sensing it. Immediately, de Chertion also withdrew his wills. Just now, it was just a test of his qualifications to enter. What a powerful will. Our Beast Clan has another Skyfae expert. How should I address you, brother? I am the Tongtian Ape King. You can call me the Know-It-All. In the hall, there was a huge rectangular jade table. Around it, there were more than a dozen figures sitting. Every single one of the figures contained a terrifying amount of power within their bodies. On the surface, they all looked like ordinary people. At this moment, a voice sounded. De Chertion looked over. The one who spoke was a humanoid ape. His body was covered in golden monkey fur. He wore a golden armor and a purple gold crown on his head. Although there was fur on his face, he looked like a human. From head to toe, he exuded a wild and unruly aura. When he saw Di Shirtian enter, he smiled and greeted him. Di Shirtian noticed that there were a few pairs of small ears behind his ears. He is the know-it-all? Six-eared macaque? One of the 4 chaotic apes? Could it be that he is the same person as the know-it-all of the later generations? Sakra heard his introduction and his heart unconsciously fluctuated rapidly. He immediately thought of the know-it-all who had protected him in secret. He wondered if they were the same person. No need to guess, lunatic D. The old man you saw before is this guy. He's already at the peak of the ancient Skyfae level. If he can survive the Great War, he must have broken through and become an ancient demon god. When Dark saw this, he immediately said with certainty. His eyes quickly scanned the hall and he was secretly surprised. He said, "My goodness, everyone here is the top fighting force of the ancient demon clan. Lunatic D, look. That man with fiery golden hair is an expert of the Golden Crows. He's called the Sun War God Lushiri. He's also at the peak of the ancient Skyfae level. The one with snow-white hair is Venerable Frigid Wind of the Frigid Seeping tribe. And that one is Goddess Featherflight Qing Yu of the Blue Phoenix tribe." Ming had the experience of the past. Towards each and every one of the experts in front of him, he quickly explained to Di Shirtian as though he was very familiar with them. Every single one of them, if spoken of in the later generations, was a ferocious god that intimidated all parties. Every one of them was a ferocious existence. Look, that's the great Pung demon Venerable. I remember that he's still at the peak of the ancient Skyfae level. He only broke through to become a peerless expert during the Great War. As for the introduction of Dark, Sakra meticulously memorized all of it. At this moment it actually introduced the other great rock demon Venerable. Immediately his mind was shaken. He was very sensitive to this name. This was the ferocious god who established the Tian Pung realm and took away the monster summoning banner. His arrival in the ancient era was probably because of him. It was hard not to pay attention to him. He hurriedly looked over. He saw an extremely young man sitting on one of the seats above. His body naturally exuded traces of intimidating pressure and hostility. More than that, there was a kind of arrogance that came from his bones. This was a kind of natural disposition that one was born with. He was handsome and refined. He wore a gold-trimmed brocade robe and a golden crown on his head. His body was boundlessly sharp. He looked like thousands of unsheathed swords. He was deeply imprinted in the depths of one's memory. What a great Pung demon Venerable! Di Shirtian's eyes lit up. It wasn't that he hadn't seen arrogant people before. Back then, Ao Chun was also an exceptionally arrogant person. However, his arrogance was only a kind of arrogance that looked down on everything. Compared to the great rock demon Venerable, it was only in appearance, but it lacked a kind of spirit. Those who saw Ao Chun would only feel disgust. As for the great Pung demon Venerable's arrogance, it was as if he was born with it. It felt as if it was only natural. Arrogance also needed to be differentiated by people. Di Shirtian glanced around the hall without any signs of stage fright. He saw that there were a total of 18 seats at the long table in the hall. There were 3 empty seats now. Looking at the heavenly demons in the hall, he did not fawn over them. He just calmly said 3 words as an introduction. Then, he sat down on the 3 empty thrones. Yes. This dignified and magnanimous action immediately made all the heavenly demons in the hall nod in unison. It was a kind of acknowledgement of Di Shirtian, the newcomer. They did not make things difficult for him. After all, those who came to the Star Battle Island were all brave warriors who were ready to die in the battle. Time passed by slowly. In the end, no other heavenly demons came in. After a few minutes had passed, Yi Zichen suddenly opened his mouth. Suddenly, an old man sitting on the left opened his eyes. His turbid old eyes flashed with a faint shrewdness. His old body contained a vast power that could overturn heaven and earth. With a smile on his face, he seemed to be very amiable. He said, "It's almost time. It seems that there won't be any other demon friends coming to the trade fair today. Why don't we start now?" Immediately, all the heavenly demons opened their eyes. "Good! Good! I have no objections." The demons all expressed their opinions. Obviously, it was just a formality. Lunatic D, this is an expert of the Fox clan called the Wise Fox Demon Venerable. He is extremely good at communication, scheming, and setting up. Moreover, his schemes are often ruthless. In that case, this old man will throw a brick to attract the jade. The Wise Fox Demon Venerable smiled gently. With a flash of light in his hand, 5 psychic jade boxes appeared on the jade table in front of him. As soon as the jade boxes appeared, all eyes in the hall immediately focused on them. The things that could be brought here were definitely not ordinary. Crack! With a few soft sounds, the 5 jade boxes were opened one by one. Bursts of strange light emitted from the jade boxes, and the treasures inside fell into the eyes of all the demons. Di Shurtian did not immediately look at the treasures in the jade boxes. Instead, he looked at the other demon venerables. He could clearly see that the pupils of a few demon venerables slightly shrank when they saw the items in the jade boxes. Although it was not easy to detect, it still could not escape his eyes. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 948. Looking at those strange eyes, Di Shurtian already had an idea in his heart. Although he hadn't seen it yet, he knew that it was definitely not an ordinary treasure that could make these experts who stood at the top of the world change their expressions and pay attention to it. It was the real top-grade supreme treasure in the world. Then, he looked at the 5 jade boxes. In the first jade box, there was an ice-blue 9th-grade ice lotus. The entire ice lotus was crystal clear like a crystal, emitting a beautiful luster. It slowly rotated in the jade box as if it had a life of its own. On the surface of the ice lotus, petals bloomed outwards, withered, and immediately grew again. It was illusory, with a strange color. In the second jade box, there was a long 7-colored vine. On this long vine, even the roots were still there, preserved in the jade box, and its foundation was not damaged. On the vine, there were 2 small gourds of different colors. One was purple gold, and the other was turquoise. However, it seemed that these 2 gourds were not ripe yet. In the third jade box, there was a dark green crystal. It was about the size of a fist. This crystal was unusually deep, and it was constantly absorbing the strange fluctuations in the void. It was extraordinarily secretive, as if it wanted to devour one's soul. It was very strange. In the fourth jade box, there was a puppet that was emitting a golden divine light. That puppet was wearing a golden battle armor and holding a golden long spear in its hand. It emitted a strong pressure. The patterns on its body seemed to be in harmony with the world. In the fifth jade box, there was a simple and unadorned battle sword. There were countless densely packed natural patterns on that battle sword. This was a stone sword, but it didn't emit a trace of the sharp aura that belonged to a battle sword. It was like a piece of rotten wood. It looked like the most ordinary stone sword. However, how could it be an ordinary item that could be taken out here? Layer flower ice lotus, connate gourd vine, black jade divine crystal, and a killing puppet with the battle strength of a peak ancient heaven demon. Could this stone sword be a heaven and earth weapon embryo? If that was the case, then this weapon embryo was most likely a heaven-ranked weapon embryo. As long as it was slightly refined, it would become a heaven-ranked weapon. Precious treasures, my goodness, these are all precious treasures. Any one of them would be treasures that countless cultivators would fight over in the future. Dark's eyes widened. His mouth opened subconsciously, and large amounts of saliva flowed out from his mouth. Good stuff. Sakra's eyes lit up. Each of these 5 things was a rare treasure in the world. The layered ice lotus could be used to refine an external incarnation, it could be used as a life treasure, it could be used to build the foundation of the Tao. For those who practiced ice-type cultivation techniques, it could be of great help. It could be of great help when one was about to break through the bottleneck of a peerless expert. The connate gourd vine was a connate spirit root. Although it wasn't easy for it to grow, that didn't diminish its value. The black jade divine crystal was a supreme treasure that could protect the divine soul. If the puppet could get it, it would be a powerful slave that could die for it at any time. That artifact embryo was a heaven-ranked divine weapon. That was a divine weapon that only a peerless expert could possess. It was priceless. Every single one of them was priceless. It was impossible to look at them with ordinary eyes. Hee, I'm sure everyone here can tell what this old man's items are. If you are willing, you can make a bid. I want to exchange for treasures that can increase one's combat strength, such as killing treasures that I can use, elixirs that can strengthen one's body, and some strange Dharma treasures. As long as the value is the same, I can exchange them. The wise fox demon Venerable smiled gently. He said calmly, now that the war was coming, everything was to increase one's combat strength and even survival methods. Naturally, what he wanted to exchange for the most were treasures in this aspect. To increase one's ability to protect oneself. This is the Cold Soul Snow Mountain painting that I refined by gathering the essence of dark Een in the depths of the North Sea. I collected the northern underworld ice crystal from the eternal still glacier and refined it with the help of countless spiritual essences of heaven and earth. It is a superior grade acquired spiritual treasure, a superior grade treasure. After refining it, one can turn heaven and earth into a snowy region with just a thought. I wonder what Elder Ji thinks of this in exchange for the layered ice lotus. Venerable Han Fenglung was the first to speak. Ever since the item within the jade box appeared, his eyes had never left the layer flower ice lotus. He had a frost body and was born with the cold attribute. If he used the layered ice lotus well, it could be used as the foundation of his Tao. It could even break into the ranks of unparalleled expert. How could he not be moved? He immediately took out a painting scroll. This picture scroll was completely white, and it unfurled in midair. On the painting scroll, there was a vast and boundless snowy region. Inside, snowflakes were dancing in the air. It looked very beautiful. A snow-white snowy mountain stood tall. On the snowy mountain, there were many ice peaks. It was an exceptionally vivid painting of the snowy region. Inside, one could clearly feel the endless power of ice. The power was so strong that even ancient heavenly demons felt like they were frozen. Good. This layered ice lotus is now Venerable Ice's. When the wise fox demon Venerable saw the painting, he could feel the power within it. Although the painting might not be as precious as the ice lotus, at this moment, any item that could help in the battle was a type of possession. Whether or not the value was equivalent was secondary. Once they agreed, they immediately exchanged it. During this process, no other demon venerables interfered. This is a substitute puppet. It can help you avoid a calamity that forces you to death. It is effective even against ancient heavenly demons. I will exchange this puppet for the black jade divine crystal. Suddenly, a light flashed in Great Rock Demon Venerable's hand, and he took out a jade box. In the jade box there was a lifelike puppet. The puppet's face was unusually blurry, and one couldn't see its face clearly. However, there was a mysterious power contained within. Substitute puppet? When Wise Fox Demon Venerable saw it, his eyes suddenly lit up. He quickly said, "Yes, Great Rock Demon Venerable, we have a deal." Almost no one would complain about having too many substitution puppets. Each one could block a death tribulation. It was said that these puppets were refined by the myriad tribulation ancestor. Only by using the power of myriad tribulations and a unique type of divine could they possess such miraculous power. The refining method was extremely strange. There weren't many substitute puppets that were circulated. Every single one of them had a measurable value. Immediately, the transaction was completed. Sure enough, they are all rich and overbearing. Every single one of them is an incredible treasure. When Tion saw the 2 consecutive transactions, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. In ancient times, one couldn't evaluate it with ordinary thinking. However, he didn't plan to continue watching. If he did, he was afraid that the next few treasures would be traded away. Light flashed in his hand and a small jade gourd appeared. Placing the gourd on the table, he looked at the wise fox demon venerable and said, "This gourd contains the 9 poison dragon pellets from the one and only 9-headed poison dragon emperor in the world, as well as the dragon's head of a primordial ferocious dragon, as well as tens of thousands of poisonous plants and herbs. Drinking a mouthful can cure any poison in the world, and you will be immune to all poisons. Only I have this kind of heaven-grade spiritual wine. In exchange for the connate gourd vine." Tion could say without hesitation that this dragonfly poison wine was a one-of-a-kind treasure in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, the demon venerables all looked at the gourd. In the demon god clan, there were a few clans that were best at using poison. If they had this dragonfly poison wine, they would immediately be immune to all poisons. It was definitely an unimaginable help. Good treasure. When wise fox demon venerable heard this, he took out the gourd, opened it and sniffed it. He nodded his head and said, "Okay, let's exchange." After that, he sent the gourd vine in front of Sakura. Although the gourd vine was a connate spiritual root, there were only 2 gourds left on it, and they weren't mature yet. In order to mature and continue growing, the soil and environment were very strict. TSK, good stuff. Crazy D, you have fused this gourd vine into the bell of reincarnation, and it will become a connate spiritual root. It will immediately promote the bell of reincarnation to a superior grade connate spiritual treasure. Furthermore, with the power of the reincarnation of the heavens in the bell and the living soil of the 9 heavens, it will allow the 2 gourds to continue growing. When they mature, they will become connate spiritual treasures. It's a good deal. Ming shouted excitedly. After sending the gourd vine into his inner world, he didn't immediately fuse it into the bell of reincarnation. The trade continued. Those present were all heavenly demons from the antiquity age. Each of their treasures was extremely precious. The puppet was obtained by a 3-headed demon venerable, and the battle sword was obtained by the sun war god, Lu Shuri. He injected all kinds of array runes into the sword. The sword shone with golden light and the grand sun primordial fire. It turned into a heaven-level inferior grade divine weapon, the sun war sword. After that, the other demon venerables took out their own items and continued to trade. Tion had a strong foundation. He had the spiritual wine and the source of life in his hands. He even used the power of desire to condense the desired divine thunder, which contained the pure power of desire. When it exploded, the power was shocking. He made many moves and gained a lot. During the trade, he was very active. Treasures that were hard to find in the future fell into his hands one after another. For example, he obtained the 9 golden crow divine feathers, the sun golden essence, the Fusang branch, etc. There were also the dream recall token, the sky swallowing crystal, the overwhelming morality tablet, etc. Every one of them was precious. Time passed quickly and the trade fair came to an end. The 16 demon venerables in the main hall were very satisfied. They all obtained the items they wanted. The great rock demon venerable stood up and glanced at the demon venerables. He said in a deep voice, As heavenly demons of the demon race, we can't retreat. Everyone, take care. I hope to see all of you again in the future." After he finished speaking, he turned and left. The other demon venerables also secretly gestured and left. "Senior, please follow me." The Fox clan maidservant appeared again and said, Lead the way." Tion nodded. He had obtained many treasures and he wanted to organize them. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 949. That Fox clan maid was abnormally well behaved. She knew the meaning of Sakra and immediately led the way. Not long after, they arrived in front of an abnormally noble palace. This palace was obviously one of the many palaces in the palace. "Mr. D, this palace will be your residence from now on. Everything inside will be at your disposal. If you are in seclusion, no one will disturb you. If you need, we will immediately arrange for the most beautiful women in our clan to serve you. We will leave behind a bloodline for you and continue your glory." The Fox clan maidservant said respectfully. Then, she said without reservation that the most outstanding women in the demon clan could serve him. She said it naturally and without any awkwardness. "Lunatic D, you don't have to be surprised." Ming sensed a hint of surprise in Tian's heart and answered directly. "Every demon who becomes an ancient heavenly demon is the most outstanding and strong-willed existence in the world. Once they become a heavenly demon, their bodies have been refined and their blood has been changed. Their bloodline has been refined to the highest level. Their demon bodies have been refined to an extremely perfect state. Even if a drop of blood falls on an ordinary demon, it will bring them endless benefits. This is a sublimation and transformation of life. Even the most ordinary bloodline will become the most powerful bloodline after becoming a heavenly demon. If they give birth to a descendant, that descendant will also have a powerful bloodline that belongs to him. Not only will the speed of cultivation be astonishing, but they will also have terrifying talent. The descendants will advance under the glory of their ancestors. That was indeed the case. When Sakra heard this, he deeply experienced it. He had molded the demonic veins in his body, and in the end, even his blood had completed the blood cleansing. The blood flowing in his body was no longer an ordinary blood red, but the most honorable purple gold. He was certain that his bloodline was definitely not inferior to any powerful race. Instead, it was more noble and powerful. Participating in the war is risking life and death. Under the attack of the demon gods, there is the danger of dying at any time. Therefore, the reason why he proposed to have the demon race's outstanding beauties serve him was because he wanted to leave behind a bloodline for the ancient heaven demons of the demon race and leave behind descendants. Even if he did die, his bloodline would not be extinguished. This is a choice made by the demon race for the sake of their inheritance. Nether's voice was slightly low. This was undoubtedly an act of making arrangements for one's will and will. This was also the last resort of breaking the hatchet into a boat. It was a method to preserve the inheritance of the demon clan. No need. Tion could naturally feel the bitterness of this. Leaving behind descendants. He didn't need it. When faced with a battle, it was a sign of lack of confidence in oneself. Kill. Fight. If he wanted to fight, he would fight without hesitation. Bang! As he entered the hall, the door behind him slammed shut. In the hall, there were huge pearls adorning it, making the surroundings as bright as day. He sat down on a futon. He closed his eyes and cultivated. The Huangji World Shocking book in his body quickly circulated. The Huangji True Force shuttled through every demon vein, nourishing every inch of his flesh. Every demonic vein had countless branch meridians that extended into the flesh, stimulating the flesh and making it even stronger. The demon refining cauldron spun wildly, devouring the power of the stars around it. His mind entered his inner world in an instant. A body quickly formed in his inner world. Connate gourd vine. With a soft shout, the 7-colored gourd vine appeared in front of him. The 2 small gourds hanging on it were still fluttering in the wind. Bell of Heaven's Reincarnation. On the right, the translucent, crystal-like ancient bell appeared in front of him. On the bell, several scrolls intertwined with each other. They were vivid and lifelike. There were fire crows flying in a sea of fire, a giant running on the ground, and an illusory gourd vine with 3 different gourds hanging from it. All of these scrolls flashed in succession. Tion fixed his gaze on the scroll with the illusory gourd vine. With a serious expression, he said, "Connate gourd vine, merge with the ancient bell. From now on, we share honor and disgrace. Power of Heaven's Reincarnation, merge!" Under his control, the connate gourd vine quickly approached the ancient bell. As soon as it got close, the ancient bell emitted a strong devouring force. The power of Heaven's Reincarnation quickly wrapped around the gourd vine. In the blink of an eye, it was sucked into the ancient bell. Clang! 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 On the ancient bell, there was a burst of bright divine light that completely enveloped the ancient bell. In the divine light there were countless strange scenes. There were countless Buddhas praying, countless gods giving their blessings, and countless demonic voices. The voices of heaven were faint, as if there were countless worlds disappearing continuously. In the endless cycle of reincarnation, all the living beings in the heavens flashed like lightning. Inside, there were countless illusory plates of reincarnation spinning continuously. The sounds of reincarnation filled every inch of the void in the inner world. In the inner world, all the demons who were bathed in the sound of samsara felt their minds suddenly become clear. It was as if they had been enlightened. All the problems they had faced in their cultivation in the past were instantly solved. The bottleneck they faced was like a piece of white paper that they broke through in the blink of an eye. After receiving the benefits, they all sat down on the ground and started to circulate their cultivation techniques to break through. Dong! The strange scene in midair dissipated after a while. All of the divine radiance instantly retracted back into the ancient bell. Looking at the ancient bell again, it had completely retracted. The original crystal radiance was faintly flowing around the bell. It was far from being as gorgeous as before, but the power contained within the bell had faintly become more terrifying. The bell of Heaven's Reincarnation has finally been upgraded to an upper-grade connate spiritual treasure. Now I have a higher chance of surviving in this battle. It will be easier for me to kill the demon god. Tion grabbed the ancient bell in his hand. He could clearly see that the illusory gourd vine in the painting on the ancient bell had been replaced by a rainbow-colored gourd vine. There were 5 small gourds hanging on it. One was blood red, one was jade green, one was jet black, one was purplish gold, and one was jade green. They were all different, and the aura they exuded was also different. The bell of Heaven's Reincarnation had swallowed large amounts of fire crows, blood essences of giants, and even fused with powerful treasures such as the demon-slaying gourd, calamity gourd, and god of wine gourd. This caused the ancient bell to be on the verge of upgrading. Now that it had obtained the connate gourd vine, the connate origin source within it fused with each other, causing the ancient bell to be upgraded immediately. The ancient bell could upgrade by continuously swallowing and fusing with various treasures. This was the amazing thing about the Bell of Heaven's Reincarnation. He kept the newly upgraded Bell of Heaven's Reincarnation in the demon residence and nurtured it silently. He cultivated in the hall for a total of 3 days. 3 days later, Tion opened his eyes that were originally closed. A psychic jade box appeared in his hand. In the jade box there were many translucent hexagonal crystals. Within each crystal, there was the figure of an emperor. They exuded a strong aura. They exuded a strong and domineering will. There were not many of these crystals. There were only 3,300 of them. Will crystal fuse with my body? Tion sucked slightly towards the jade box. Instantly, a crystal flew out from the jade box and turned into a ray of crystal light. It entered his forehead and quickly appeared in the demon residence. In the demon residence, in the demon refining cauldron, an actual 11th rank Black Lotus was spinning at a constant speed. It was swallowing the vast amount of heaven and earth yuan qi and the power of desire. On the Black Lotus, there was an illusory figure that looked exactly like Tion. From this figure, there was a terrifying aura that seemed to be able to crush anything. It was like a shadow that was about to disappear at any time. The willpower crystal immediately rushed into the illusory figure from the outside. As soon as it entered, it could be seen clearly. A crystal-like crystal was embedded in the heart of the figure and it emitted a bright crystal light. Wisps of crystal light swiftly spread throughout the figure's body and were continuously absorbed by the figure. With every wisp of crystal light that was absorbed, one could vaguely sense that the originally illusory figure was faintly becoming more condensed. Crack! The crystal shattered into millions of pieces and turned into countless light spots. Within each light spot, there was a miniature figure of an emperor. In the blink of an eye, it had completely fused with the illusory body. Not enough! Tion did not stop. After absorbing the first will crystal, he immediately began to absorb the second one, the third one, and then the fourth one. One by one, the will crystals were refined and turned into his own willpower. The will realm was divided into will, heavenly embryo, illusory body, spirit focus, and only self. He was now in the illusory body realm. Although his willpower had condensed into a physical form, it was still very illusory. If he wanted to go one step further, he would have to turn the illusory body realm from illusory to corporeal. That corporeal form would be formed from the will crystals. To reach the spirit focus realm, he would have to condense a total of 81 will crystals that belonged to him. Every time he refined a willpower crystal, Sakra would have an indescribable sense of pleasure, and his spirit would be incomparably satisfied. He could clearly feel that his willpower was constantly growing stronger. His understanding of himself and the world around him was becoming clearer. Since they were all will crystals, refining them was extremely smooth. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. The 3,000 will crystals in the jade box had been completely devoured. The illusory figure on the Black Lotus had become incomparably clear, as if it were real. The surface of its body glowed with a crystalline light. The illusory body realm has basically reached the peak. Next, it's time to condense a will crystal that belongs to me. Tion took a deep breath. He could feel that his will was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than before he went into seclusion. Dong! Just as Tion was about to take another step, outside the palace, the sound of an ancient bell rang out, echoing in the air above the island. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author, I support the original reading. Chapter 952. First update delivered. Within the sound of the bell, there was an intense murderous aura. It was as if countless weapons were colliding, and countless murderous sounds were reverberating. Within it, there was also a heavy aura, a kind of determination to advance without retreat. This was a solemn divine bell, this was the bell that started the war. This was the first death knell before the war. It enveloped the entire Star Battle Island and even spread to the endless starry sky. All the demon race warriors who heard the ringing of the bell, who were originally cultivating in seclusion, woke up from their seclusion. Without hesitation, they quickly gathered at the various military camps. Other than the ancient heavenly demon-level demon venerables and even the unparalleled demon immortals, the other demon clans could only gather together in such a war. Only by gathering the strength of their companions would they be able to unleash a greater combat strength, survive the war, and kill more demon immortals. The war is finally about to begin. Tion originally planned to take this opportunity to condense his own willpower crystal in one go, but after hearing the ancient ringing of the bell, he immediately opened his eyes. In his eyes there was a dazzling purple-gold divine light, but it quickly disappeared in the blink of an eye. He suddenly stood up. With a wave of his hand, there was a flash of light in front of him. The bell of reincarnation and the seven sins demonic zither appeared in front of him. On the seven sins demonic zither, the originally pitch-black body of the zither had returned to its original snow-white state. Wisps of mist flowed in the zither, revealing the simple charm of an inferior-grade treasure. The 5 spiritual pearls on the zither, the earth spiritual pearl, the gold spiritual pearl, the wood spiritual pearl, the wind spiritual pearl, and the fire spiritual pearl, were emitting divine lights that were competing with each other. Ancient Tao patterns flowed, as if they had a life of their own. It was as if they were going to devour one's mind. Forever sinking. The bell of reincarnation has been upgraded to an superior grade treasure, and the 7 sins has become an inferior grade treasure. Yes, with these, my combat power will increase by several notches. Tion nodded and kept the 2 natal demon treasures in the demon residence to nurture. Clang. He pulled out the tiger soul, only to see that the blood-red pearl on the tiger soul had completely returned to its emerald color. The fishbone-like blade pattern on the tiger soul rippled. The golden divine light was extremely restrained. Good buddy, you must be very thirsty now that you've advanced to high-grade earth rank. Xiao Chen gently caressed the saber and felt the intimacy from the tiger's soul. He muttered to himself, "Don't worry. This time, I will definitely let you drink to your heart's content. I believe you have not tasted the demonic blood of a demonic god for a long time already." Tian's gaze was deep as he sheathed tiger soul. Rumble. Walking to the front of the hall, the door of the hall opened by itself. He walked out of the palace. Looking around, countless demons were converging towards the 5 camp. Rumbling sounds came from the battle island. One after another, enormous battle towers, tens of thousands of meters tall, rose from the ground at a crazy speed. The battle pagoda was at least 10,000 feet tall, and it was surrounded by countless starlight, emitting a resplendent star power. This was the Star Battle Pagoda on the Star Battle Island. Once a battle broke out, the pagoda could release star divine thunder. Every star divine thunder was the size of a star. When they exploded, it was as terrifying as a star exploding. There were a total of 100,000 of these star battle towers. They were scattered around the edge of the island, like the ferocious fangs of a ferocious beast. Clang! Clang! From the 5 camps, groups of Yao clan warriors rushed out one after another. Every one of them was wearing battle armor that shone with starlight. They were all star battle armors that had been refined together. Of course, there were some battle armors that were better than the star battle armors, but they wore different battle armors. The formation was neat and tidy. In the sky above the Star Battle Island, in the blink of an eye, 5 huge square formations were formed. They were densely packed and filled every inch of the starry sky with dense murderous aura. Sakra swept his gaze over and could clearly see that on the faces of every demon race warrior, there was a kind of resolute determination to face death. Their eyes were filled with the determination to die. This was the boldness that truly disregarded life and death. Generals and soldiers do not fear death. They can overturn the heavens with one hand. Tian nodded inwardly. Just from this morale alone, he could guess that once the war started, there would be no difference. These demon race warriors would definitely erupt with unimaginable battle prowess. In each square formation, there were tens of millions of elite. This was the foundation of the Yao clan. Feeling the aura in the air, the blood in his body began to boil gradually. Boom, boom, boom. The Star Battle Island shook again. A huge platform rose from the ground from the center of the island. The platform was so huge that it soared into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it was even taller than the Star Battle Towers. On the platform there was a black war drum. On the war drum, countless figures of savage beasts were constantly flickering. They outlined strands of mysterious Tao patterns. It was tens of thousands of feet in size. It was supported by drums that were as tall as mountains. The drums next to it were like pillars that supported the sky. To pick it up, one must have monstrous divine power. In front of the war drum, there was a group of people who were tens of thousands of feet tall and burly. Their muscles were like dragons coiling around their bodies. Hidden beneath his bronze skin was an explosive and peerless divine power. Their eyes were like the sun and the moon. Strands of long black hair danced in the air like giant iron chains. They swept across the void. Between their eyebrows there was a golden thunderbolt mark. They exuded an ancient aura. There were a total of 9 of them. The barbarian god's war drum and the Thunder Giant clan. It is indeed the time for the final battle. Ming's expression became unusually solemn. Legend has it that in the barbarian era, countless ancestors of the Yao clan sacrificed countless experts to kill a barbarian beast great emperor. They peeled off its beast skin and refined it into a barbarian god's war drum. It absorbed the essence of countless savage beasts and refined the bones of the great emperor into a drum hammer. It also fused with a Khanate spiritual embryo to refine a top-tier Khanate spiritual treasure. It is one of the most powerful treasures of the Yao clan. Sakra's gaze couldn't help but freeze. With just a glance, it was as if he could see countless savage beasts' soul essences pouncing out from the war drums, wanting to devour everything in its path. It was so ferocious that even he felt oppressed for a moment. This war drum not only has a shocking origin, but it is even more terrifying to use. It requires a Hercules with innate divine power to beat the drum. Good heavens, only thunder giants with innate divine power and giants who have reached the pinnacle of ancient giants can truly unleash the supreme power of the barbarian god's war drum. Ming clicked his tongue inwardly. Bang, bang, bang. He glanced around and saw a group of demonic beasts gathered in the sky above the battle island. Great Rock Demonic Venerable, Tong Tian Ape King, Know-It-All, Han Bing Venerable, Wise Fox Demonic Venerable and others were among them. There were more than 10,000 of them in this group. This was a group of heavenly demon masters. Without hesitation, he walked toward the group. Ripples appeared with every step he took, as if there was an invisible ladder under his feet. He had the majestic aura of an emperor. He Brother D, you are here too. Come to me. Tong Tian Ape King was clad in a golden armor, with a purple golden crown on his head. His entire body was covered in monkey fur, and he was holding a golden stick in his hand. He grinned and winked at Indra while calling out to him. Oh, it's Brother Ape. D. Tian did not decline and came to Tong Tian Ape King. Brother D, I heard that you know how to brew spiritual wine. Quick, take some out and let me drink to my heart's content. Later, I'll have a good fight with those demon bastards. Tong Tian Ape blinked and reached out to pull D. Tian. There was a hint of slyness in the corner of his eyes. Ever since he saw Dijio take out the myriad poisonous dragon wine and knew that Dijio knew how to brew, he had been secretly eyeing the other spiritual wines in Dijio's hands. He was almost drooling in his heart. Okay. D. Tian looked at Tong Tian Ape with a half-smile. Tong Tian Ape's little trick could not be hidden from him. However, he was not stingy. In front of him were the Yao clan's martyrs who were about to go to the battlefield. No one could guarantee that they would survive. He looked up at the tens of thousands of Yao clan venerables around him. He waved his hand. Whoosh! Wine gourds made of jade appeared one after another. Each gourd seemed to be held by an invisible hand and was delivered to the surrounding demon masters, appearing in front of them. All of them were present. No one was left behind. Everyone. After D. Tian sent the spiritual wine out, he reached out and picked up a gourd. He opened the gourd. A peculiar mellow fragrance was emitted from it. It was the 10,000-year-old monkey wine. Looking at the various demon venerables, he said, "Today, after the battle with the demon god, those who are able to come here are all warriors of the demon race. Let's cut to the chase. Although I, Sakura, am not familiar with all of you in the past, today we are here to die. Knowing that there is only a slim chance of survival, we still came fearlessly. My fellow Yao clan venerables, you are strong. I, Deshirtion, sincerely admire you. This cup will be everyone's farewell wine. From now on we will be comrades in life and death. Please." Deshirtion's every word seemed to be able to stimulate the Yao clan venerables' fighting spirit. Although they did not know each other at this moment, there was a blazing light in their eyes. They all picked up the spiritual wine in front of them. "Please." A solemn atmosphere filled the air. At the same time, they said. They opened the gourd, raised their necks, and gulped down the spiritual wine in big mouthfuls. "Tisk tsk. This is great. I haven't drunk 10,000-year-old monkey wine for many years." Tong Tian Ape King let out a carefree roar. "The demon god is here." Dapeng demon venerables walked to Deshirtion's side and looked at the endless starry sky. He looked deeply into the distance. Rumble! In front of the astral battle island, hundreds of thousands of li away, there was a pitch-black devil island that was as large as the astral battle island. It was like an immemorial devil beast, rampaging without fear. It didn't care whether there were stars in front of it or not. It directly smashed through the stars, shattering them into millions of pieces. Billowing demonic chi with shocking hostility shrouded the sky above the sky burial battle island. It gathered into demonic clouds and constantly changed into various ferocious and terrifying demonic images. Roar! Roar! It was the roar of billions of demonic beasts. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.